Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for race two of a Friday night doubleheader, which was originally supposed to be a doubleheader set for Saturday, but of course, as I let you guys know during the Truck Series commentary and as well as on the community tab earlier this afternoon, that the ARCA Menards 200 at Daytona was postponed, or I should say not postponed, it was moved up from its original start time at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow afternoon to tonight after the Truck Series race. Truck Series race went a little long into overtime, set a record for the most cautions in a single truck race at Daytona in the 25-year history of that race, and that is why we are starting this thing just after 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. We'll take a look at the qualifying order as cars are already on the racetrack getting set to go green. This is the speed set for Willie Mullins, pole sitter today. 48.982. He was the only driver to set a lap time at faster than 49 seconds in ARCA qualifying earlier this afternoon. Tim Richmond outside of the front row in second alongside Mullins. Jake Finch and Tony Breidinger in row two. You'll see Breidinger as well as a few other drivers just got done running that Truck Series race, which finished about an hour or so ago. And she's going to be pulling double duty again as well as others. Ryan Huff and Justin Bone. Oh man, I forgot ARCA's got some weird names in here. Bonsingor. Justin Bonsingor. I remember last year during the ARCA race, I was messing up on a bunch of names too. Justin, alongside Ryan Huff, is in row number 3. And row number 4 is going to be Jill Linster and Brian Dozit, Isaac Johnson, Jason Kitzmiller in row number 5. Kitzmiller led quite a few laps in this race last year, I do remember. Chris Wright and Bryce Hogberg will line up in row 6. Andres Perez and Jeff Schofield in row number 7. Tanner Gray pulling double duty in this race will be on the inside of row 8. And Dale Quarterly back to run this race as well. He'll be to his outside. Eric Caldwell and Caleb Costner will be in row number 9. Thomas Annunziata and Christian Rose will be in row number 10. Sean Core, Greg Van Olst, the defending winner of this race, will be in row number 11. Row number 12, Steve Lewis Jr. and Patrick Emerly. Gus Dean and Marco Andretti is going to be in this race today in row 13. Armani Williams and Amber Baltzine will be in row 14. Row 15 is going to be John Aramendia and Scott Melton as well in this race. Mandy Chick back for another race at Daytona alongside LeVar Scott. They'll be in row 16. Row 17, Leland Honeyman Jr. and Andy Jankowiak. Shane Van Gisbergen starting pretty deep in the field. We know him, of course, winning his first ever NASCAR Cup Series start at Chicago in the street course last year. He'll be in this one, making his super speedway debut for Pinnacle Motorsports, driving a Chevy. He'll be on the inside of row number 18. Michael Maples will be to his outside in that row. Row number 19 will be Brayton Laster and Ed Pampa. And Charles Buchanan alongside Pampa in row number 20. Still looking to get that live leaderboard up for you guys. I was checking it out in the pre-race. Hopefully it is up and running now. And there it is. About to go green this time by. The pace car is headed for pit road. Not going to be able to show as much detail of stats as is on ARCA's website for our raw feed for lap times and, of course, up-to-date statistical analysis of the race. Quite a few fans from the truck race sticking around for the ARCA race as the green flag is in the air, and we start this late night of racing for the second time on this Friday night. Pretty spaced apart start as the top 7 cars running in a pretty tight pack at the front of the field. Everybody else starting to fade just a little bit and trying to play catch up in the draft now down the back straightaway. Pole sitter Willie Mullins out in front of the field still into turns 3 and 4 as they get up to speed. 80 laps, 200 miles the scheduled distance in this one. No live pit stops will need to happen. There will be a halfway mark stoppage at lap 40, which will allow for these teams to change tires and fuel the race cars up. They cannot fuel prior to lap 40 in this race. No live pit stops in ARCA. And 1 lap in the books. Green flag all the way through. Obviously a shorter distance in this one than what we saw in the Truck Series race earlier by 50 miles. And for the most part, it looks like almost the entire field is in this giant pack. One car all the way down to the apron on the back straightaway, maybe just dropping out of line and getting out of harm's way early. A lot of dancing going on the back straightaway from quite a few drivers in the field. Saw that out of the Truck Series race, especially in the corners. Exit of turn 4, there was a lot of loose moments in the Truck Series race. We'll see if that'll continue in the ARCA Menard Series race here tonight as well. Got to watch the pass below the double yellow line. So somebody flirting with that, trying to get by Greg Van Olst in the 35. Mullins is the leader at the end of the first 2 laps of the race, driving a Ford. Finch is the highest running Toyota in the field in second. Highest running Chevy is Kitts Miller back in the 7th place position. A lot more Chevys in the ARCA Menard Series field compared to any other series, and already 3 wide inside the top 10. Don't see this much in ARCA. 3 by 3 from the back half of the top 10 all the way through about the 20th place position. And Greg Van Olst is the one leading the charge. We know he's got a fast race car. He didn't qualify particularly well. Back half of the field is where he started this one, but already has made his way up to 5th and now down under the double yellow line as cars follow in line behind him. Big crash going into turn 1. The big one is already stricken. Had a feeling there was a chance of that happening with them being 3 wide, as deep as they were through the field, and about a dozen or so cars are taken out on lap 4 of this race. That did not take long. Massive carnage in turns 1 and 2 on lap 4. Somebody in the middle of the pack got turned around, really pretty close to the front of where everybody was 3 wide in the back half of the top 10, and it was on from there. Tony Breidinger involved. Her night will come to an end early. Quite a few heavy hitters in this ARCA series as well involved in the incident.
That's the 25 of Tony right in the middle. Let's see if she gets squeezed. So I think the O2 got a push there and wiggle down the racetrack, and then they just kind of squeezed and touched on corner entry to 1. And just really tough part of the corner. The car is really light, and obviously a small push when you're racing that close, only a few inches door to door, generates some contact.
Yeah, the majority of these cars involved, nothing they could do. So Tony gets in the 97 of Jason Kitzmiller.
And everybody else is just checking up, trying to miss it. I mean, half
doing their best to try to miss it.
See the 28 on the right side of your screen spinning around. That's Shane Van Gisbergen.
Here's a Sioux Chief on board for Tony Breidinger.
Yeah, so when that push got delivered to the 55, I mean, Tony, you can see by the lines on the racetrack, she was holding her car dead straight, just got a push. That O2 car came down the racetrack and shoved her into the inside lane, and then everyone else is involved.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2-3 laps into the race, and we're already pushing people sideways into each other, and let's get some laps in. Let's get some laps in before we start all the pushing.
Yeah, I mean, the urgency was clearly...
Phil Parsons like, I've had enough of seeing wrecks tonight.
Obviously, we were talking about Greg Van Olst, who was able to bring that third lane all the way up forward and get himself clear to the bottom. And right as he was able to do that, get safe on the bottom, obviously that third lane was able to cause that wreck.
Saw Mandy Chick on pit road as well. So all 3 of the women who are in the field were involved in that incident there. So as drivers head to the infield care center to be checked and released, we will step aside. We're under caution here at Daytona for the first time this evening.
Jeez, massive crash on lap 4. That's just the way this night has gone so far. A long Truck Series race and already off to a slow start here in this ARCA race. I was wondering, you usually don't see the field in ARCA, at least as of the last several years, 3 by 3 by 3 like that. let alone the fact that that took place in the first couple laps of the race, and then we end up seeing a massive crash in turn one, which takes out probably about a third of the field. I'm not going to lie. I would not be surprised if a third of the field is out of the race following that wreck. 40 cars started this race, 10 of which are a lap down already, probably from that wreck. Quarter of the field has gotten taken out on lap 4. Still quite a few cars in this thing. The problem is a lot of those cars that were taken out in that wreck were in the middle front of the field, so you'd have to imagine that a lot of really good race cars were involved in that incident. Ed Pampa, Chris Wright, Shane Van Gisbergen, Tony Breidinger, Tanner Gray, Amber Balkin, Mandy Chick, Steve Lewis Jr., all involved in that incident. Jeff Schofield as well involved. And we'll see how many of them will be able to continue. But it does not look good for at least the bottom 5 that you see on our leaderboard of Breidinger, Van Gisbergen, Wright, Pampa, and Aremendia. Schofield and Gray are now lapped down too. Same with Balkin. Willie Mullins has led all 5 laps completed so far. We're not under a red flag period, which I'm kind of surprised considering how many cars were involved in that incident in turns 1 and 2. I think a lot of them probably slid down the banking and into the grass or apron of the racetrack, so that has allowed us to not go under a red flag period. But I would imagine this is going to be a pretty lengthy cleanup. We're going to run quite a few laps under the caution flag that we are currently under. I don't think we're going to see 12 cautions in this race, though. It is 20 laps shorter of a distance, so I don't think we quite have enough time to get that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, by the way, on this very, very late Friday night. On a semi-late notice when you consider the fact that this race was supposed to be ran tomorrow. But again, because of a huge threat of rain pretty much all day tomorrow and Sunday, and Daytona Beach, they had moved this race up to tonight, which is why we are streaming right now. So more than likely no stream tomorrow. The Xfinity Series race is still scheduled as of right now for 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow evening, but the likelihood of them actually getting that in is not looking very good. So if it does get postponed before our scheduled start time, then there will be no stream tomorrow. And the Daytona 500 live stream on Sunday is scheduled for 1:30 Eastern Time. But again, if we end up getting any sort of postponement of that race to Monday before we go live at 1:30 on Sunday, then that stream will also get pushed back. So we may not be streaming for the next 2 days if both the Xfinity and Cup Series races are moved to Monday afternoon, and then Monday night would probably be the 500. People don't realize how hard it really is. Yeah, I mean, well, the problem is you're running 3x3x3 like that at lap 4 of the race with a lot of really young drivers. I mean, the ARCA truck and even Xfinity Series to a certain extent now, all really young drivers that don't have super speedway racing experience. All the drivers involved in the incident, 13 drivers involved in the incident. 13-car crash on lap 4.
Stay with us. You're watching the ARCA Menard series.
Cutting right back to commercial break, it looks like. 13-car incident on lap 4. Apollo FM, Terry Lewis, Robert Goodrich, JSMR, JoJo, Kurt Heidel, TJ the Sloth, welcome back into the stream. Tom Cummings, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I know it's Amber Balkin. I might have mispronounced her name. I actually do know her in this field, so apologize if I messed up on that. Michael Turner, William Walton Jr., Billy Kramer, Wade Solinsky, Seth Thomas. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. at least stream a bit, like a small discussion of what you think will happen in the Xfinity or Cup race or something. I mean, I go for the Cup Series races. I go live an hour, a half hour to an hour before the start of the race. Usually it's about a half hour to 45 minutes for the start of the race, but because it's the Daytona 500 this week, it'll actually be live an hour before the start of the race. With it being the biggest race of the year, break down some of the off-season stuff that happened, obviously leading into the race as well. But as far as the live commentary streams for the Xfinity and Truck Series races and stuff, I usually don't have much of a pre-race there, and usually go live for those about 15 to 20 minutes before the drop of the green flag. But I'll still get my predictions in when the race is about to begin. I'll go live a little bit before the drop of the green flag. More so than what I did with basically just like I did for the truck race earlier tonight. Plenty of time to get my race predictions in. It's just with this ARCA race starting like a half hour after the fact, after it got moved. I don't have any notes for this ARCA race tonight because I was not expecting there to be an ARCA race tonight, so I'm very unprepared for this. So if I do mispronounce any of these names, I apologize for that. Like this Justin guy in 7th place. Bonsignor? That's what it looks like. That's what I'm going to call him going forward, Justin Bonsignor. It might be Jor. It's either Jor. Well, no, it's got to be Nor because there's a G before the N. The G's got to be silent. What the heck was that? I don't know if you guys heard that or not. Something fell. Something fell somewhere. Somebody was riding around on some flat tires under the caution period there just a second ago. They're going to have to push that vehicle back to pit road. That might have come from I don't even think that came from in here. That sounded like it may have come from whoever's next to us. It sounded like so off in the distance. Yeah, it wasn't me. Maybe it was upstairs or something. I don't know. There's something fell somewhere around here. It's got to be one of the neighbors. Standing, Amanda Nunez standing next to Shane Van Gisbergen out of the infield care center.
See what happened.
Yeah, that didn't last long, that race. It sucked. Real shame. I was just learning. We were getting through a few and just trying to be patient. I saw a crash up ahead and I slowed up pretty good, I thought. Now I just got slammed from behind. So that sucked. It was a shame for WeatherTech and the team. And yeah, hopefully go better in Xfinity race.
We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see ya.
He's always...
Shane Van Gisbergen will be running the Xfinity Series race at Daytona, scheduled for tomorrow as well this weekend. So tough ARCA debut for him, but he's got a chance to try to regather himself and go for broke again. Green flag back in the air, lap 10 on this restart. 71 laps still remain. And waiting to see exactly how many cars are on the lead lap. It looks like we currently have 30 cars on the lead lap. So yes, 13 cars were involved in the incident, 3 of which from that incident are still on the lead lap, which is why we still have 30 cars on the lead lap, hence the math. Mullins in danger of potentially losing the lead. Outside lane got going a little bit better than what they did on the initial start that time, as Finch in the 20 car is battling alongside Mullins for the lead. Mullins was the pole sitter. He's led every lap so far. Side by side off turn 4. That car second in line on the inside, I believe that was Ryan Huff in the 36, got a bit loose. Again, we saw quite a few spins in the Truck Series race right in that same area of the racetrack. And these guys definitely have their hands full very early. First lap led of the night for Jake Finch. Not used to seeing these ARCA races at night at Daytona as well. Usually in the daytime, even back when Speed Weeks was like 10, 11 days long, they would usually have these races take place before the Budweiser Shootout or the Sprint Unlimited back in the Daytona days of that race going on, the now known Busch Clash. And we are under caution again. Maybe debris on the racetrack. Yep, right on the front stretch, cars tried to dodge it and somebody hit it. A late caution for debris, and it was bouncing around pretty violently between a few cars that ended up hitting it. And some of the cars that hit it were at the very front of the field. And the caution flag is out. Some of them saw it. It looked like Finch in the 36 hit it, and then it bounced off the left front fender of the 02 of Leland Honeyman. And then it hit another car that was in the inside lane a little bit behind Honeyman.
They clean up that debris. We're under caution here for the second time.
All right, well, under caution again. Quick debris yellow, about a lap and a half to 2 laps after the restart. Jake Finch out in front of the field now. Mullins, who had led the first 9 laps of the race today, had fallen to 3rd prior to that debris yellow on the front stretch. No 3-wide racing there for that lap and a half. It was all 2x2 for the most part. I remember when I saw, it would have been technically my first ARCA race. No, it wasn't my first ARCA. My first ARCA race at Daytona, at least. I'd seen a couple at Talladega before that. A couple of times I'd gone there, but I mentioned during the Truck Series stream the only Daytona 500 I've ever been to, and the only time I was really in Daytona before was for the 2022 Daytona 500, and through Speed Week for that. I saw the ARCA race that Saturday. That had to have been probably the most boring race I think I've ever watched in person. There was like a caution like every 5 to 10 laps, kind of like the Truck Series race earlier today, but the difference is they were like single file pretty much the whole time when there wasn't cautions, and the only time there was yellows was because there was a single lazy car spin or debris of some sort, and then they would just have like long drawn out caution periods because the ARCA series is usually pretty understaffed with like safety personnel and cleaning up the mess and whatever. And so there was just like an excess amount of caution laps, and then they would get back to going green, and there was only like 4 or 5 competitive cars, so you'd have like 4 or 5 cars that would just kind of pull the rest of the pack. They'd be single file. They'd be pulling away on the bottom lane of the racetrack, and then you'd have like a giant pack of like 10 to 12 cars between the back half of the top 10 through like 20th, and they were all running single file, not doing anything. It was not a very enjoyable race, and the reason I really was there as early to watch it, for one, I'm going to get my money's worth because I had all day tickets. 2, the Xfinity Series race was on after that, so I figured I might as well go to the stands early, catch the ARCA race, and it's up on the YouTube channel. You can watch the highlights of that. And if you're wondering, what races I may be attending in person, or for the races I do go to in person, will it be streaming? No, I don't stream those races. I can't give you guys commentary for those. But what I do is I take videos throughout the course of the race. Usually try to compile a highlight video anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes for every NASCAR race I go to in person throughout the season. I didn't go to many, only 3 races last year. I'm not going to any for the beginning portion of the season. Definitely plan on going back to Michigan again in August. Richmond is on my birthday, actually the week before Michigan, but that race is on my birthday on August the 11th that night, so I definitely want to go there for that. I haven't been to Richmond yet, so that'll give me another incentive to go. It's really one of the few tracks that are within a reasonable driving distance that I still have not been to, about a 6.5 hour drive or so for me. So definitely going to Richmond, definitely going to Michigan. I'd like to go back to Indianapolis. It's only about a 4-hour drive for me too. And obviously they're bringing the Brickyard 400 back. That is in July, I believe, if I remember correctly. So quite a few of the races that I am going to this year will be in the summer months. And maybe a couple more along the way that I still am uncertain on exactly which ones I'll go. Probably, other places I haven't been before. But most of them will more than likely be the middle to the end of the season. Right here, obviously, with you guys, every race I'm not at for the Truck Xfinity and Cup Series, and a one-off ARCA race here tonight. The race is on Fox Sports 2, by the way, if you are wondering where you can visually watch the race. Fox Sports 2. It was supposed to be on Fox Sports 1, but with it being moved up a day, it was into the sister channel. More like a stepsister channel, considering the fact that Fox, the little brother or little sister channel, would be Fox Sports 1, and then you have like, it's like FS1's like the middle child between FS2 and Big Fox. So we're on the youngest child channel of Fox, essentially, when it comes to sports. Here's a college basketball game that was set to go on at 10 o'clock tonight. That is on FS1 after the truck race. About 4 or 5 cars on pit road from that earlier incident that are back on pit road making more repairs. There's no damaged vehicle clock policy like there is in the Truck Xfinity and Cup Series. So as long as you meet minimum speed, able to keep coming down, repairing the vehicle and get back out there. That does lead to more debris cautions though, which we just saw one, obviously. 7 cars out of the race right now, by the way. Ed Pompa, John Aremendia, Chris Wright, Shane Van Gisbergen, Tony Breidinger, Tanner Gray, Jeff Schofield. They're all out of the race. Mandy Chick and Amber Balkan are still in this thing, but they're lapped down. Caleb Costner also lapped down in 31st. 30 cars still in the lead lap. And I don't think anybody out of the front of the field there pitted despite hitting the debris. Amanda Busick is standing with Tony Breidinger outside the infield care center.
Annoyed. Talk about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice since the 55 is my teammate, but definitely is disappointing. It's so early on in the race, really unnecessary move. Even later in the race, that would have been a bad move. I mean, you're not clear, you're not clear. It's unfortunate he has a lack of respect for his teammates and other people on the track that work really hard to get here when his dad is writing the check, so I think that just has to do with his lack of respect.
Those are some pretty bold words. I want to go to the collection of the day that you've had. You started in the trucks race today and now finishing up here in your own progression. Are there teaching moments here?
Yeah, I mean, we had a great day. Venture Motorsports brought me a fast car. Celsius was on board. It started off amazing. Great qualifying effort. Jake Finch, my teammate in the 20 car, did a great job in qualifying. We worked together. So yeah, just disappointing that the 55 had to just kind of ruin that for all of us.
Emotions high, Jamie.
Yes, no doubting how she's feeling right now. But I mean, that young lady, she's full time. She's thinking about points. She's not just here to jump in and go for a race win. And what a week she's had. She was up at Fashion Week, you guys, just on Tuesday. She was in a fashion show for Michael Kors. Then she flew down here, raced at New Smyrna, then came down over here to the racetrack and had practice and qualifying for ARCA. So a lot going on with that young woman.
Well, I can't tell you anything about going to Fashion Week, but I can tell you doing double duty in one day is information overload, especially as you're a young driver trying to come up through the ranks and understand. I mean, the Truck Series cars race so much different than the ARCA Menard Series cars, and obviously I'm sure she wanted to get this race underway, and it's really frustrating to end that way. But I also say I think it was just aggressive pushing early in the race that they really caused that wreck. Unfortunate because it took out a good majority of the field, and as she mentioned, her teammates. I mean, there was a lot of really strong Venture Motorsports cars that got taken on that wreck as well. So yeah, probably some teaching moments in there for a lot involved, but yeah, just frustrating for sure to be out of a race that early.
Tell you what, Venturini Motorsports has had a lot of drama over the last year or two, and this kind of adds to it with somebody calling out another driver that happens to race for that said team, and it happens to be a driver that, as Tony mentioned, is got their dad writing checks at the same organization for everybody. So interesting in that situation that you would call somebody out for that, but yeah, it just adds to the ARCA madness when it comes to off-track melee / word fights / Wendy Venturini team fights, essentially, is what it boils down to. Not Wendy Venturini, Venturini Motorsports, my bad. Not Wendy Venturini herself. Where's she working now? Is she in MRN or PRN? She used to be back on Speed Channel for a while as a pit reporter. But I think she's working with one of the radio programs now as a pit reporter, if I'm not mistaken. Same family, just not the same person. Apologize to Wendy. Patty Rumdy Creations, thanks for tuning in. The race I've ever watched where I'm thinking of what I want for breakfast. Well, you must not have watched Formula One before, because at least where I live, they tend to race in the wee hours of the morning quite often. I usually don't watch Formula One. I definitely don't get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to watch Formula One. But it's tough to watch, though, when they're like at normal time, because I'm, right here giving you guys NASCAR commentary Saturdays, Sundays, so. End of season races is about the only ones I catch after NASCAR's all done. Enough of that, though. We're about to go back to green flag racing here shortly. Lap 17 at the start-finish line this time. Jake Finch is your race leader and the control car for the restarts. He'll be on the inside lane. Green flag is back in the air. A lot of these front bumpers seem to be skewed to the right, I've noticed, too, with these ARCA Menards cars. That's got to be a little bit weird when you're basically seated. You're probably seated pointing in a direction that's closer to the wall than what it is the double yellow line, yet you're trying to turn left. I don't know. It looks weird. Maybe that's why all these cars are unsteady. They set them up for a road course. They brought the road course cars to an oval. Maybe that's what they did. 27 of Tim Richmond unsponsored in the second place position. Inside lane a lot better than the outside on that restart. Very similar to the very start of the race. As our pole sitter Willie Mullins is starting to fall back. He continues as the lead car on the outside as he is in about the 6th place position or so. A lot of side-by-side action. A little bit of 3-wide, a little bit further back outside of the lead pack with some cars that are basically trying to get out of harm's way, and they're putting themselves in more harm's way than the actual lead pack is right now. Be interesting if Greg Van Alst is going to be able to go not 2 for 2, but 2 in a row at Daytona. Back-to-back years, he's already in the mix. Again, he started in the 21st place position, and he had worked himself into the top 5 early. He hasn't led any laps yet, but sits in 4th. All on the inside lane for the most part is the entirety of the top dozen cars in the field. A couple of them looking to peek out of the bottom lane and move into that upper group, but there's just not any numbers up there to try to make headway. And once you move up, you lose your spot in line on the bottom. I like that Kyle Petty throwback car, by the way. The 44 of Thomas Annunziata is riding a classic mellow yellow Kyle Petty throwback scheme from the early to mid-90s. Appreciate that one. Couldn't tell exactly what the sponsor was on this car. It's not mellow yellow, but it's the exact design of that car for anybody that knows what I'm talking about. Oh, car hard in the wall, back of the pack. Right rear tire looked to have blown out on the 74. In a single car incident, well beyond the lead pack. It's Mandy Chick in the 74. She was involved in the big one back on lap 4. So I'd imagine that the fenders were not pulled off of that right rear tire enough, and it has caused her right rear to go down as she has slammed the wall in. Her night wasn't over during the first incident. It's definitely going to be over now. Third caution of the race at lap 20, which is exactly where we were at in the Truck Series race earlier. We had our third yellow at lap 20 during the stage break. There are no stages in the ARCA Menards series, but there is going to be a competition caution at lap 40. Nonetheless, again, to pit, because there's no live pit stops. A lot of debris, by the way, of basically just sheet metal from around that right rear corner panel. The corner panel itself is fine. It's just the wheel well area of the race car and maybe some of the underbody. That whole right rear basically exploded. Up against the outside wall she went. down to the apron on the backstretch before coming to a stop. So under our third caution of the day. Big one at lap 4 where 13 cars were involved in the incident. Then a debris caution followed by the single car incident in turn 2. Shout out to all the fans in attendance for this race, by the way, sticking it out very late on Friday. I mean, they're probably there all weekend anyway. I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be like, well, I'm going to be in Daytona for the rest of the weekend anyway. Might as well stay out at the track all night. Nowhere else to be. Lap 20, Jake Finch was still the leader at the time of the caution. Tim Richmond second, Gustine third, Greg Van Alst in fourth, Ryan Huff fifth, Justin Bonsignor in sixth, Sean Corr seventh, Dale Quarterly eighth, Willie Mullins ninth, and Andres Perez currently rounds out your top 10 in the ARCA Menards 200 at Daytona. Travis Tierney, thanks for tuning in. Nerd Focus is a sponsor in the 44. Appreciate that, Travis. Bannon Doge, thanks for tuning in. Rick, NASCAR fan, also welcome into the stream. Late Friday night, if you're tuning in for the first time ever, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on the stream as well. I don't know what our goal for likes is going to be for this one. We usually don't do ARCA races. I don't want to set the bar too low. I feel like 50 is too low. We're already at 30, and we're only a quarter of the way through the race, so we should get to that easily. I don't want to say 100 either, though, considering that's usually a goal for truck and Xfinity races. Our truck series last year, I think we got to 115 likes. I'll have to go back and check that. Might as well check it now while they're on a full-screen commercial break. Let me check that real quick. See where we were at earlier. We're one like away from 4,800, or one subscriber away from 4,800 on the channel. We'll be officially 200 away from 5,000. And boy, if we can get to 5,000 during the Daytona 500, that would make this Daytona 500 that much more special on the channel. Might have an extra day to do it too if it gets pushed back to Monday. Although I'm not going to get many subscribers tomorrow and Sunday if we don't stream the next 2 days. So it might actually be tougher for me, but we'll see. Oh, that was the dual races. Yeah, dual races last night got to 93, 92, 113. 113 likes for the Craftsman truck race. And that truck race was the most watched stream of the weekend so far. It was also the longest stream of the weekend, too. It barely beat the dual races from Thursday, but considering those are cup races, that was actually pretty impressive. Granted, it's a Friday night, too. I don't know. It's tough to, gauge it. I guess it's not a traditional points race, too, on Thursday for the Cup Series. Points are on the line for the top 10, but I don't think a lot of people really know that. Daytona 500 qualifying, about 2/3 as many on the viewership side of things. I'm surprised we had as many likes as we did for those first 2 streams this weekend, though. So I got 2 more to go after this. Xfinity race scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. I know rain is looking like it is not going to be a 5 o'clock start, nor is it going to be tomorrow. I'll keep you updated in the community tab as for any NASCAR updates, or any updates, I should say, presented by NASCAR to the start times of both tomorrow's race and the Sunday Daytona 500. Whenever the start times for those 2 races the rest of the weekend will be, we will be live for that. Next weekend, the NASCAR Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series will be at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Truck and Xfinity doubleheader on Saturday, so we got a doubleheader here tonight. We're going to have a doubleheader on Saturday next week as well. Actually, we're going to have a tripleheader on Saturday because we have Cup qualifying as well that we will be broadcasting on the channel. So you got Cup qualifying, which is probably going to be in the morning on that Saturday, followed by Xfinity, the truck race, and then the Xfinity race next Saturday. So again, next Saturday we've got a tripleheader, and then of course the Cup race on Sunday as well. So a big slate of action every NASCAR race weekend. Tune right here on the channel for Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series live race commentary and Cup practice and qualifying the rest of the year as well. There is Cup practice also scheduled for tomorrow morning, but the likelihood, again, with all the rain coming in, that's more than likely going to get washed out. They did have a practice session earlier this afternoon as well. In between ARCA and Truck Series qualifying, I do believe they had a practice session. Xfinity Series was on track as well today for practice. Lap 23 at the start-finish line. The pace car is pulling to pit road, and we're about to get back to racing. Through the restart zone, green flag back in the air. Jake Finch pulling out ahead on that inside lane. Help from Gus Dean in the 55. Dean is a former Super Speedway winner in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He has a win at Talladega. See if that'll help him out throughout the course of this race today. He's got a lot of experience compared to a lot of other drivers from a super speedway standpoint in the ARCA Menards series. Venturini Motorsports, although he did cause that first incident of the race, but needless to say, he's still in the second place position. Surprised he got by as unscathed as he did through that incident. I will say, though, as even growing up racing, it stinks. Oh, and we've got another wreck in the tri-oval. Meanwhile, while that's going on, the 32 spins back across the racetrack and barely gets missed by about 2 or 3 other cars. Then sliding back across the apron, there was another one that missed low to the inside. It's Christian Rose in the 32 that went for the spin. He was on the bottom lane just getting out of the tri-oval and went for a spin, and somehow not only everybody missed him, but he kept it off the wall as well. And Rose should be able to continue. He was getting pushed by the 44 of Annunziata. And just getting hit from behind in an area of the racetrack where the cars are the lightest. Either right off the exit of turn 4 or right out of the exit of the tri-oval, especially in the tri-oval where the speeds are up more than what they are off the exit of turn 2 and turn 4. And just a bad spot to get pushed. And around he went. Nobody else collected, and this is our 4th caution of the day already at lap 24. I don't know what I was talking about before that. It was like mid-conversation as that spin took place. Gas 3801, thanks for tuning in. Sydney, Australia, thanks for tuning in from the lane down under. Elijah Buddy Jenkins, thanks for tuning in. I think that's the first I've seen you in a stream this year. Or at least this weekend. You might have been in the Clash a couple weeks ago. Can't remember who was and wasn't there. Hard to believe the Clash was 2 weeks ago. From 2 weeks ago and 1 minute time will be officially on Saturday. At least where I'm at. The rest of the U.S., or people that are in the U.S. watching that are not in the Eastern time zone, it would not be Saturday quite yet. Both left side tires, by the way, are definitely flat on that 32 of Rose as he locked them up mid-spin, trying to get to pit road before those go down completely. Yeah, 44 definitely got into the back of him. By the way, those cars that were basically just barreling down, narrowly missing the spinning 32 of Christian Rose, thank goodness they missed him because it didn't seem like they were braking at all. Good old ARCA brakes. They were just gassing it up, hoping they were going to get through, and they did, thankfully. It usually doesn't work, but it worked this time. Probably the single car slide, there wasn't as much smoke as what there would be if there were quite a few other cars that were spinning. We've got some of the leaders coming onto pit road this time at lap 25.
25 laps in, and our leaders are coming down pit road. Remember, they can take tires, they can take fuel, they just can't do them simultaneously. Just 4 pit crew members allowed to go over the wall. They're coming your way, Amanda.
You'll see Tim Richmond coming to us. There he's going to get the pit stop underway. He said that starting out this race that it was a 2 out of a 5 tight, and that the car just did not want to turn. What are you hearing, Panther? Well, for Jake Finch here in the 20, they're fueling the car first, but he just asked his team, hey, do I turn it off right now? Because he thought it was the brake, and they said, no, this isn't a brake. Keep it running. So they're going to go to work.
How do you not know the rules?
On the 20 as well. But
The break isn't until lap 40. There's a driver's meeting. What was he doing during the driver's meeting?
For Jake Finch.
That's a great illustration. You saw them wait to jack the car up while they put fuel in it. You can have 4 people over the wall, but you cannot fuel and change tires at the same time. But they have plenty of time. The pace car is in the middle of the backstretch. Pace car lap here is probably around 2.5 minutes. As long as they beat the pace car out of the pits and don't have any penalties, then they will retain the position that they had when they came in.
Having a hard time in the left rear. Tim Richmond throwing his body into it, trying to get it on. Yeah, he was.
Probably threw his shoulder out.
We made it. It's
trying to put a tire on the car.
It's Saturday. This race was supposed to be on Saturday and is on Saturday.
We have not even mentioned that. The fact that severe weather has been forecasted for Saturday. So the ARCA Menard Series, NASCAR, and Foxhall got together and said, let's run this race on Friday night, which was a great move. Everybody was happy about that. But now it is officially midnight and it's Saturday, so here we are. We're happy to have
just
all of
13
you
hours early.
Watching.
And all the competitors
13 and a half, actually.
Really happy about this. Otherwise, if the weather was bad tomorrow, then it may have been a Monday race, and nobody wanted to stay till Monday. It's so expensive.
And hard to find hotel rooms. I mean, this place is sold out for Sunday. Let's check in again with Amanda.
Jamie, I was talking to a couple of drivers ahead of the driver intros, and just to repeat the sentiment that you guys just said, yeah, a lot of these drivers wanted to get this in tonight, but they pointed back to practice in January with some rain situation and actually pushed later into the day, so they got to race here under the lights. So having some experience in talking to Tim Richmond and getting ready for this race, he was excited to race here at the Superspeedway in a true Daytona fashion.
I think racing under the lights is always cooler for the drivers, but I will say a night race here, in my professional opinion, has saved a lot of these cars because we've seen a lot of guys struggle for handling, wiggling back and forth. I'm sure a lot of guys were trimmed out to try and make the race with 50 cars entered, and we still have a lot of handling issues even in these cooler conditions. So I think it's best case scenario for these drivers. As much fun as they're going to have just racing under the lights in this place, but also I think their cars are going to drive better than what they would have otherwise.
You see Tim Richmond come back down pit road to put fuel in it, so he elected not to do it on the same pit stop.
There's big Bill Venturini.
Rob Popel, hopefully I said your last name correctly. Al Bish, also welcome to the stream. As far as where you can watch the full replay of the race, I'm not sure. They may have, because the ARCA Menards race was scheduled for 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. They might actually air this race again on a replay on FS1 at 1:30 tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. So you might be able to watch the race on FS1 tomorrow at 1:30. But to watch it live, obviously, you'd have to be watching on FS2 right now. I will not be live streaming again at 1:30 tomorrow for this race because I'm commentating it right now. That would not make any sense. I would know the outcome, everything that has happened. I'll know exactly when it happens. It wouldn't be an authentic way of going about the live commentary side of things. So I will not be streaming at 1:30 tomorrow with this race taking place here tonight. Quite a few drivers obviously stayed out. A few of the front runners did come into pit road. I can't guarantee that the race will be rebroadcast at 1:30, but I would just imagine that it would, considering they still have that aired time slot ready to go on FS1 for them. If it's not that, they're going to have something NASCAR on because NASCAR is going to have the coverage of that race, whether it's like an extra long race day for the Xfinity Series, I don't know, but be able to go back and watch this. Venturini Motorsports sitting at 99 career wins. That I was unaware of in the ARCA Menards series. 99 wins, but 480 top 5 finishes, 829 top 10s, 100 poles even, 5 driver championships, and 4 owner championships. Weird that there's 5 driver championships, but the owner's championship, there's only 4. There's no playoff format in ARCA, so I'm not sure exactly. How do you have one more driver championship than what you have in owner? I feel like you would have like potentially more owner championships than driver. It must have been like a late substitution where somebody raced somewhere else, and then mid-season they went to Venturini Motorsports, and that's why they didn't get the owner's title. I don't know. That's weird. Yeah, SVG is out of the race already. There was a big 13-car crash on lap 4, and unfortunately he was collected in it as well as a few others. I did not have a race prediction for who I thought was going to win this, by the way, considering I don't even know half the drivers in this race. So usually I make predictions for how I think the race is going to go. I had 0 predictions for this race, hence the reason that we started this live stream like 5 minutes before the drop of the green flag. I didn't have a full morning to try to get notes for this race like usual either. Again, with this getting moved up all of a sudden, middle of the afternoon today to tonight after the truck race, and we had the truck race obviously going on there. Green flag is back in the air as it'll be Ryan Huff and Sean Corr on the front row now. Sean Corr had quite a few laps towards the front of the field in this race last season. And we'll see if he can keep that race car up towards the front of the field now. And it's also going to be interesting to see all those fast cars try to rocket from the back of the pack to the front. A lot of slower cars that they'll probably be able to pass even without a lot of drafting help. And be interesting if we get back to 3-wide racing at all here. We were actually single file racing for a little bit, and yet we are 3-wide. Greg Van Olst is going to go to the outside. He's got 1 car going with him. But 2 cars is not going to be enough to get by everybody, and this is where things are going to get dicey because we saw a lot of 3-wide racing earlier, which led to the first big one of this race. Hopefully it's the only big one, but it is very tight through the tri-oval right now. A lot of bobbing and weaving going on in those bottom 2 lanes, and Olst almost got squeezed into the wall. He's still staying up there. Probably doesn't have a choice now. He's boxed in between the wall and the 2 rows below him. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Sean Corr and Ryan Huff continue to go back and forth. Corr officially led that last lap at the start-finish line. Lap car down on the double yellow line was pretty slow. Couple of the Venturini cars moving up in front of Van Olst on the outside. Another one almost moved off the middle to the top, and we're back to 3x3 all the way through the field for the second time today. Last time this happened, we had a big wreck in turns 1 and 2. So tight in the tri-oval. Near contact made as Van Olst is going to get by on the outside, and he's got some clearance below him now. Contact headed towards turn 1. 36 car of Huff moving up off the double yellow line just a little bit. Not as many cars 3-wide anymore. 1 or 2 rows of 3-wide in the middle of 1 and 2, and that was about it. It was a whole field about a half a lap ago, and somehow they all made it out despite everybody moving around and not really holding their line very steadily. Jake Finch at the front of the field now, ahead of Gustine in second, Greg Van Olst third, Sean Corr fourth, and Andres Perez rounds out the top 5. 9 laps to go to the halfway mark. Once we get to lap 40, and then every car in the lead lap crosses the start-finish line at lap 40, then we will have a competition caution, which was the scheduled midway break that we were supposed to have to fuel race cars and take us to the end at that point. We've had 4 cautions total in this one. Somebody is smoking on the top side of the racetrack, and it definitely one of the front cars in that group. Yeah, a lot of smoke coming out of the 30. It was driven by Frankie Muniz for a majority of the ARCA season last year. Muniz will be running part-time in the Xfinity Series this season, including in tomorrow's race. There's a lot of smoke. It's definitely not oily because obviously everybody that's in line behind him is still there. They're not slipping and sliding around, but there is quite a bit of smoke coming out of Justin Bonsignore's car. Bonsignore, sorry. Hopefully Justin can get to pit road or maybe the smoke will stop, and I doubt the smoke's going to stop all on its own. Perez getting bump drafted on the outside lane. Luckily, the 6 of LeVar Scott let go before getting into the corner. And Bonsignore is still up there on the outside. It's about the 5th car in line in that top lane. A bump from Scott to the back of the 2 and a little wiggle getting into the corner, and that kind of shook up the outside line just enough that they ended up losing a little bit of ground. Trying to gain that back on the back straightaway this time. Jake Finch still all clear at the very front of the field. First car on the outside is now Greg Van Alst. He moved off the bottom from 4th to the top, made 1 pass, and now is up to 3rd. And with Sean Corr behind him, they're looking to take control of this outside lane, and can Van Alst get his car to the front of the field for the first time. He's going to get to the outside of Gustine in the 55. And Van Alst with a charge into turn 1 is going for the lead. He has the lead in the middle of the corner. And how about this? Very racy in this ARCA Menard Series race. Oh, a lot of movement on the bottom. The 20 got a bit sideways with Gustine pushing Jake Finch. Finch holds on to it. Might have had to lift just a little bit, and Van Alst is going to get to the lead and then cut down to the bottom in front of Finch. First lap led for Greg Van Alst at the start-finish line. 35 laps complete in the ARCA Menards Series season opener at Daytona. Potential 3-wide move by Scott. He jumped out of line and then moved right back into that second groove. And that was nearly a bad decision. And that car in line behind him gave him a very big break. Otherwise, that could have been another incident. Finch with a run. Push from the 55. Both of them going to go to the outside, and both the Venturini cars are going to try to double team Greg Van Alst to get back to the lead again. Though they've separated quite a bit in the middle of turns 3 and 4, Van Alst doesn't have a lot of help at the moment. He's going to get a big push from behind by the 36 of Ryan Huff. 3 wide now for 3rd place, near contact with the 36 and the 8 of Corr. And a big run by Gustine on the outside. He's got some help coming up behind him. The 3 wide again inside the top 10. It has been dicey up at the front of the field here for quite some time. And Gustine got shuffled way out of line. It goes from about 3rd back to around 10th. In the span of 1 corner. And they're back to door for the lead. This has been a very aggressive last 3 or 4 laps. And we're still in the first half of this race. Lap 38 this time by. I don't even know if they're going to make it to the halfway point the way things are going right now. Handling becoming an issue. A lot of these drivers are on old tires, the tires they started this race from. Not all of them. Some of them are on fresher tires. Lap car down on the apron, getting out of harm's way as the leaders rush by. We're 2 laps away from the halfway mark and the competition caution. I think Greg Van Alst is going to stay on the inside even if he's able to pull clear again. That 30 car has been smoking for almost 10 laps now, but he's still on the racetrack. He's now in the bottom lane. He's the 4th car in line on the bottom, as there seems to be about 15 to 16 cars or so in this lead pack. This is honestly the best racing we've seen today. Over the last 5 to 6 laps or so. That's what you want to see. Drivers on the edge of control. hanging on to it, racing clean. I mean, this is some good super speedway racing. Maybe a little early to be doing this, but it's been exciting. And we still got at least another half a lap of it coming up on another lap car. I would imagine this car is not going to get out of the way. And the reason being is because they're less than a half a lap away from remaining on the lead lap. Although they can just get the free pass, so I guess it's probably smart to just let them go and get the free pass at this point. They're going to stay to the outside. And they're going to be 3 wide trying to split around that car. At the line, lap 40, Van Alst leads that lap by inches. And the lap car does get lapped by the entire lead pack. Great racing going on right now. And once the last car on the lead lap crosses the start-finish line, then the caution will come to fruition. Who will be the leader at the time of the yellow is going to be the question. They're still in a dead heap at the front of the field. Finch and Van Alst going back and forth. It might be at the end of lap 40. I think that's probably what it is. So once every car in the lead lap crosses the start-finish line this time by, then we'll get a caution. A couple cars getting loose on that bottom lane off turn 4, stacked them up a little bit. Pretty tightly nose to tail again. Big run on Finch. Van Alst off the top side of the racetrack down to the bottom, and Sean Court takes the lead. Into the corner, he tries to throw a block and almost wrecked himself and the 20 of Finch in front of the field. We are still green down the back straightaway, and now the caution's out. We almost had a wreck there right as the cop yellow was coming out. Oh, there is a wreck. After the caution came out, the wrecking on the back straightaway. Now this is ARCA. And oh my goodness. They made it. And then they wrecked after the yellow came out. The yellow flag was out for probably 10 seconds or so, and I would not be surprised if a couple of drivers were not worded that the caution was out and they just ran into the back of another car. I would not doubt that that happened. They ARCA braked it on the back straightaway after the caution came out, and we went from no wrecked cars to all of a sudden a half a dozen of them are wrecked. We made it to the cop caution. I didn't think we were going to get there, but we made it. And then after the cop yellow came out, then they wrecked like 10 seconds after the caution. How does that happen? Oh my goodness. Let's listen in.
Top of the field comes down in Dale Quarterly, and other cars just dodging the miss and locking down brakes. I wonder what further back, probably exited turn 2, how Marco got turned sideways.
Doesn't look like Leland Honeyman had much damage. You see that's Patrick Emmerling, the blue and white car behind Marco. This is about the time
They're doing so good.
Come out. I'm not sure it's out yet.
Yep, you saw it on the
Did you see? Okay,
wall right
so the
there.
caution is out, but I'm not sure anyone had backed off yet.
They looked really stacked up in that outside lane. I don't know if the couple of leaders were backing up, but Marco was really tucked up. I believe that was the 55 and Gus Dean. I think he was trying to stay off of him, and whether if that's due to the fact that Marco doesn't really have a rear bumper anymore, is that what makes that push go so bad, or is it just that big of a run? Kind of hard to tell from the front-facing angle, but either way, hooked Marco in front of the field.
Watch right side of your screen. There's the 17 of Marco.
Yeah, so Marco actually never even gets to the back of him, so he was just trying to stay off of the 55 because he got checked up behind I believe, LeVar Scott. Just a bit of an accordion there.
Yeah, Marco may have tapped the brakes to keep him running into the 55 of Gus Dean.
How about the camera work of our crew? It's been a long, long day. Second race of the day. Before that, we had Cup Series practice. We had qualifying for trucks, qualifying for Xfinity practice. So hats off to all of the hard workers, producers.
That is the 30, I think, isn't it? Monsignor, yeah.
That's pretty bad.
That looks like an ollie of some sort.
It's 38 laps to go. It's been an eventful one. Didn't have many laps under our belt before the big one happened.
Big Willie Mullins takes off from the pole.
Our first incident here really quickly with a couple of teammates racing at the front of the field, and a little bit of contact, taking out a lot of good fast cars very, very early in this race.
You know, Tony, when we interviewed her, she thought it was all Gus Dean, but I'm not sure Gus Dean didn't get pushed from behind by the 0-2 of Leland Honeyman.
Yeah, I think just a product of being really aggressive early at the race, bad push, and not able to hold the car in a straight line. And yeah, obviously she was very frustrated. And then we've got pushed here through the trial, another bad place to push, and very fortunate no other cars got involved in this wreck. And Christian Rose was able to keep all the fenders on his car. As we have some really close calls there. And now we come to our race break here, and a bit of an accordion.
I'm just impressed by that save.
Marco keeps it out of the outside wall.
He's still got one fender left on it. He's got the right front.
I don't think Willie Mullins made any contact or significant contact with anybody. See, Hard Rock Bet came on board. This Mark Red, Terry Jones car.
I bet this car isn't going to see the rest of the race, unfortunately.
I see what you did there.
You like that?
I do.
Appreciate you.
Race summary here. Leader Jake Finch, the 18-year-old. 5 different leaders.
That's too bad for Justin. I mean, every time I feel like I watch a modified race, he's winning it. And
40 times he's won.
40 times that's a big number.
Yes, it is.
And I feel like he was really doing a good job in the middle of the pack.
Well, it's time now for our Richmond mid-race report. We send it down to Amanda.
Jamie, just a quick update on that smoke coming off of the back of the 30. The team does think that the oil is dripping on the headers, but look at the race leader right there as he popped in. Sean Core, he led laps here last year. He finished 3rd at Daytona, so he has experience here on the super speedway and knows how to get it done. In this stop, you see the tires going on. They can make changes to the car as they will, as long as they get out before the pace car. Heather, what you got?
Well, Jake Finch, one of the Venturini teams, decided to stay out as well. They're going to go back to saving fuel because they pitted under that last caution. But Jake asked his team, what do I need to do better here? And his spotter, Tyler Mond, said, we just need you to relax. You need to keep a steady will when you're up on top. No aggressive movements and easy on that wheel. Another gentleman that stayed out is his teammate, Gus Dean, who's pretty good here at super speedways. Daytona hasn't been his best, but right now they're just getting shuffled to the back, so they're going to work their way up to the front. But one thing that he's been thinking about all day is his grandfather, Charles Dean Sr. He passed away 2 weeks ago, but he's riding with Gus Dean on the car. His name is above the passenger side window. It says Granddaddy. That's what everybody referred to him as. And he used to tell Gus, get what you can. Anytime that he was racing, his grandfather would tell him that. So tonight he's thinking about his granddaddy, as we all are.
And Gus said his grandfather didn't miss a single race. So racing with a heavy heart, and how neat that would be for him to get to go to victory lane in his honor.
Yeah, in his last days, he said if you're in Daytona when I pass, you don't come home. You race down there.
Aww. All right, we are under caution for the 5th time. We'll line him back up. Jake Finch will once again be the leader. Look at that action. Marco Andretti goes for a wild ride.
Actually, I forgot Marco Andretti was in this race. I don't think he is anymore after that incident. Jake Finch, currently a race leader, just past the halfway mark, lap 44 of 80. We'll go through the full field running order after we take a quick break. We have not taken an ad break yet in this race, so I got to get my monies. Let's take one real quick, and then we'll get back with the action of the ARCA Menards 200 at Daytona. Duke Chronic, Bump Stop. Thanks for tuning in. Irina Sayre, welcome into the stream. Who else we have in here? NASCAR Justin and Ash, thanks for tuning in. I have some other newcomers in the chat here recently. Yep, whatever. Thanks for tuning in. Where's Alex Club? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. We're about to find out, though. We'll go through the full field running order here very, very shortly. Inside Uranus, thanks for tuning in. Dang, you're still up? Yeah. I'm staying true with you guys. This might be the latest start time to a stream ever. I mean, we've streamed past midnight before with some late races because of rain delays, but this might be the latest start to a stream considering we didn't get this going until 11:15. local time for me at least. Nismo4270, thanks for tuning in. Shane Van Gisbergen was in the race, but he's out now. He was taken out in that lap 4 big one. I think that's it for anybody that I didn't shout out yet throughout the course of the race. And if I did miss anybody, I'm sorry. And I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for staying up late and watching/listening to this live commentary of the ARCA 200 at Daytona. Up to 45 likes on the stream. We're almost to 50. Hit that like button if you haven't yet done so. We have more concurrent viewers than that, so we should get to 50 here any second. All you hit that like button. 36 laps to go. Jake Finch is currently the race leader. Greg Van Ulst second. Andres Perez in third. LeVar Scott fourth. Gustine fifth. Andy Jankowiak in sixth. Tim Richmond seventh. Willie Mullins in eighth. Sean Cord ninth. And Jill Linster in 10th. Scott Melton 11th. Tommy O'Leary is in 12th. Michael Maples in 13th. Ryan Roulette in 14th. Armani Williams 15th. Christian Rose 16th. Steve Lewis Jr. 17th. Brian Doza 18th. 19th is Alex Clubb. Leland Honeyman in 20th. Ryan Huff in 21st. Jason Kitzmiller 22nd. Isaac Johnson 23rd. Patrick Emmerling 24th. Marco Andretti in 25th. Thomas Annunziato in 26th. Brad Smith 27th. Justin Bonsignor in 28th. Amber Bulk in 29th, last car on the racetrack currently. Dale Quarterly just got taken out in that incident. He'll finish 30th. Tanner Gray 31st. Bryce Hogberg in 32nd. Shane Van Gisbergen 33rd. Mandy Chick 34th. Caleb Cosner 35th. 36th place finish for Jeff Schofield. Tony Reidinger 37th. Chris Wright 38th. 39th. John Aramendia and Ed Papa rounds out the 40-car field in this one. So 11 cars out of the race. Again, 35 laps to go in the ARCA Menards 200 at Daytona. Kitzmiller back on pit road again. It was just in the top 10. Not going to be the case anymore when we get going back to this next restart.
You're just making his 7th career start. He's full-time with Rev Racing.
He did a great job in this race last year.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the end of this race for a number of reasons. We got a couple of teammates. I think Greg's a bit of a lone ranger up there in the 35 car, but I'd love to see what LeVar Scott and Andres Perez can do.
Brandon Schutz, thanks for tuning in as well.
Was third in East Series points last year. William Sawalich actually won the ARCA Menards East Series championship. Luke Fenhouse finished second, and LeVar was third.
I want to go back to something Heather DeBow reported on Jake Finch. You're telling him to just relax, calm down. Does that ever work for you?
Sometimes it's a good subtle reminder that there's other people like watching and that care about you. As funny as that sounds, like I don't know, sometimes you get that reminder. It's good. Other times it depends on the driver, depends on the team. Like, you know, sometimes you might not want to hear that information. Like, dude, I'm calm. Like, just give me information. But otherwise, yeah, I'd say Jake's definitely has a lot going on, and it's great for the team to want him to keep it simple. And I think as you get close to the end of this race, though, I think keeping it simple is only going to get you so far. You're going to have to understand what's happening around you to be able to be proactive on the runs that are coming. But he's clearly got a very fast car. He's got a very capable teammate with Gustine that's along with him in the draft. And looking forward to seeing how he handles this second stage of the race.
Yeah, he's already led 30 laps. Let's get a couple more reports. Heather, we'll kick it off to you.
Another thing to focus on is trust in your spotter, and that's what Danny Johnson, crew chief for the 6 of LeVar Scott, just told him. He said, listen, you have to trust what he tells you. He's one of the best spotters up on the roofs, second to TJ Majors in Danny's opinion. So LeVar right now really needs to listen to what moves he wants him to make. Amanda?
Heather, I stopped by to talk to Tim Richmond, and he was taking a nap prior to the race. So I talked to his dad and team owner, David Drisman. He said, yeah, my boy is just calm, cool, and collected. That's what helps him in these scenarios. He said he was so proud of the qualifying effort he did today, the best of his career.
Amanda, there's a big story with this car he's driving, the 27. This is the one that was stolen at Kansas. I believe it was 2 years ago. They got it back. They've obviously repaired it.
Stolen?
And he's racing it. He's been running running in the top 10 the whole race.
That's a wild story that I have no clue that even happened. Somebody stole a stock car at Kansas, and he got it back somehow. Green flag back in the air. Greg Van Olst on the outside of the front row was not the control car in the restart, but did beat Jake Finch back to the line. They were pretty even for the most part, but it looked like Van Olst getting credit with that extra lap led. And now he's going to be side by side for second with Sean Core. Rather, that is Perez in the 2, actually. That is side by side for second. Finch leading the field. A lot of cars abandoning the top lane for right now and kind of running the bottom. Just 3 cars left on the outside. Van Olst still the leader in that outside group. He's side by side for third with Gustine in the 55. Andres Perez reeling in Jake Finch as we cut down to just 32 to go this time by.
He's a delivery guy. Every time he gets a tip, he puts it in his racing jar.
And I asked him down in the garage here, I said, you still believe it? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not going to stop that.
I love it. Ryan Huff back there trying to fight his way back forward in 36. Let's get an update on Andy J, Heather.
And you talked about that pizza delivery. Well, this is the car that he bought with his tips a couple years ago from Kenny Schrader. And every car he has, he names. This one is Mary, short for Hail Mary, because he literally put his entire savings into buying that race car. But Andy is good on these super speedways. He had a little bit of trouble earlier, but we'll see if he can keep it up front and get a nice finish tonight.
Hail Mary. You don't get those stories in the Cup Series, Austin.
That's fantastic. I absolutely love everything about this series for those reasons.
See Greg Van Olst side drafting very aggressively on the 27.
This outside lane's getting a bit of steam back to it. I think if one of these guys pulls out front, I want to know how badly Gustine wants to get back to the front of the field and back with his teammate. Because if Greg Van Olst is able to pull this outside lane through, that's going to be the only chance he's going to get to be able to promote himself back to the front of the field.
Yeah, we talked about Gus losing his grandfather. He said, I'm going to win this thing for my grandfather.
He already won this week. He was racing over at New Smyrna. Went to victory lane, dominated the race on Sunday night. You know, I looked at his schedule. He's racing at least 6 times. Saw Sparks.
I think we're sorted. I don't know how we didn't wreck, but it's definitely separated the field, killed the outside lane.
Jill Leinster in the 68.
Leland Honeyman Jr. looks like he's got some damage on the right front. Maybe a tire rub as well. Let's see the replay here.
Another push by the 44.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Another great spot to not push is entering the corners. So we've covered all the spots to not push, and that's one of them.
Thomas Annunziato.
Yeah. And the reason why that is because the car just gets really light as it drops into the banking. Got a lot of damage on I believe, Leland Honeyman's car. Got a car on the grass here. We are still under grade.
Brian Roulette has got a lot of damage. He's crab walking.
Front of the field is now single file. Like I said before, that business in 3 and 4 with that car on the apron really separated the field. We've got everyone single file. And
all the way back, single file.
It's the first time we've actually seen this the entire race.
We're losing cars, Jamie.
We are.
It's difficult when your pack's a lot smaller to be able to generate the runs on the outside.
And there's a long way to go here, so there's no reason for these drivers to jump on a line here. I mean, if we're inside of 10 laps to go, then maybe we need to do that.
Well, that could have been another Reese's Sweet move of the race. Remember, on Monday, visit ARCARacing.com and see Reese's Sweet move of the race.
What a save.
He saved it. What a great
The magical day continues. Hang on to it, Willie. He's keeping it down there.
And that is separated the field even more. Man, I wonder if he just got loose there.
I think there might have been a little bit of a touch there from Armani Williams.
Add it to the list of don't push here.
Yeah.
Wow, what a good save. Look how much steering he's got in that thing. On board here from LeVar Scott. I mean, he is. That reminds you of that Kyle Busch save. I don't know if it was 2015 or
when he won the Clash.
I mean, he is. I mean, look at the tire tracks he's leaving.
He's more than 45 degrees sideways.
And Big Willie never got out of the gas. He's standing on that thing.
Way to go, Big Willie.
Yes, I think that's a nominee for the Reese's Sweet move.
That is absolutely.
What a save by pole sitter Willie Mullins. Gets the Reese's Sweet move of the race, I guess, according to the ARCA broadcast right here on FS2. And he hasn't pitted for fresh tires either, despite the tire tracks he ended up leaving on the racetrack following that contact from behind. Now, the 36 was pushing the 13 into Willie Mullins, so it wasn't like it was all on the 13 of Armani Williams. This has left just a 6-car pack at the front of the field, by the way. And it looks like 2 of those 6 cars are starting to lose the front 4. Armani Williams is still trying to lead the 7th place position on up. If they can catch those next 2 cars, which they seem to be doing right now, then they have the numbers compared to the top 4. I think they can get there, especially when you consider the fact we still have 26 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by. Our top 10 currently, Jake Finch is your race leader, Andres Perez in 2nd, Gustine 3rd, Andy Jankowiak in 4th, Tim Richmond 5th, Sean Corr 6th, Armani Williams 7th, Ryan Huff in 8th, LeVar Scott 9th, and Thomas Annunziato rounds out the top 10. Again, 26 to go. And now they're not single file anymore in that second group, and that's going to hurt them. They tried to pass the 2 cars that they were closing in on of LeVar Scott, or rather, that's Sean Corr in the 8, and then Tim Richmond in the 27. But not everybody hopped out of line to pass them. Only the 3 cars did, so now they were split side by side, and that may slow them down even more from the 4-car group that still remains single file in front of them. And for those 4 cars up at the front of the field, it's going to be tough to actually get out of line and make a move. You're going to have pretty much the other 3 cars go with you if you were to make the move. If you're Andres Perez in 2nd or Gustine in 3rd, less cars, less likely to make passes when it comes to super speedway racing at Daytona. Full screen commercial break right now in FS2. We'll take a quick ad break of our own as you're listening live to the ARCA 200 at Daytona. Richard Stark, thanks for tuning into the stream. Thanks for everybody else tuning in throughout the course of the night, now into the technically early morning hours, right here on the Eastern time zone in the United States of America. Currently sitting at 46 likes on the stream right now. Hit that like button. Let's get that to 50 before the end of this race. Counting down pretty quickly. We've had more green flag action in this one probably than what we did the entire Truck Series race earlier, which is kind of sad when you consider the fact that ARCA is performing better than the trucks. With more cars on track, too, nonetheless. Oh, man. Maybe not on track anymore. They got ugly early. We had the big one at lap 4, but, I mean, it only took out about 10 cars. I say only. I mean, it's quite a bit to get taken out on lap 4 of an 80-lap race, but still, I mean, for the most part, everybody else has continued onward. I mean, we're still left with 23 cars on the lead lap, and as far as just cars overall in the race, there's 29 still in the race yet. And there were 13 involved in that first incident, so great job by everybody today. A couple more got taken out just after the competition caution ended up coming out at lap 41. And there was a wreck on the back straightaway there, but I don't know how many of those cars actually DNF from this race. I think only like 1 or 2 of them did. I know Dale Quarterly was in that. And honestly, him and maybe Bryce Hogberg would have been the only 2 involved in that incident that actually retired from the race at that midway break. Get to listen into more of the FS1 broadcast, or FS2 broadcast, I should say, as we're under caution.
200, you're watching the ARCA Menards series. Jamie Little joined by Phil Parsons, Austin Cindric, Heather DeBow, and Amanda Busick are on pit road. And we are under caution once again for the 6th time now because of this. Sean Core with an incident.
Yeah, originally, Austin, I thought maybe he cut a tire, but watch, the car's going to start sparking like maybe he's broken a track bar mount or something like that, but it's going to turn it sideways. He's really 6th at the time and does a good job keeping the car off the wall, but does bend the nose up quite a bit. Like Phil mentioned, I think something more suspension related happened there. I mean, you saw a piece go flying, hit the outside wall, but all 4 tires are up once he got stopped. Once he drives away from this, though, he looks like he's trailing some sort of fluid, so don't know whether that happened when the nose came down and hit the apron or not. You can see how it's bent the nose up there. Yeah, tough deal, but it will definitely pack us back up here with 23 laps to go as he's obviously out of the car and that's day done for a fast car for Sean Core. It's going to be terminal for sure.
That's got to be frustrating running 6th with 23 laps to go, and now his day is done. So Jake Finch continues to lead. Andres Perez, Gus Dean, Andy Jankowiak will be back. 22 laps to go. Stay with us.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty here in today's ARCA 200 at Daytona. I should say this morning's ARCA 200 at Daytona. Live on Saturday morning. Austin Cindric did mention earlier in the broadcast, too, that he said that this race was supposed to originally take place Saturday, and now it's Saturday, so there we go. A little earlier than we originally expected, but it is Saturday. Caution flag is out in this race. And it's been a pretty good race. I'd argue that this race has been better than the Truck Series race. It's not as caution filled. We're actually seeing some good green flag racing. Not only we're seeing green flag racing, but we're actually seeing good green flag racing when we do see it. So I will say that this has surpassed the Truck Series debacle that we ended up seeing there earlier in the night. Now this could still end up being worse depending on how the final 20 laps end up shaking out, but so far so good. 500 Monday, 300 after. I would say the Xfinity race would, if the Xfinity and Daytona 500 Cup Series race get moved to Monday, then the Cup Series I would imagine would be Monday night, and then they would end up having the Xfinity race in the afternoon, if I would have to guess. They're going to want the Daytona 500 to be the encore, if you will, of the weekend. The main event. It is the main event. It's the main event of the season, let alone the weekend. Unfortunate. We're only 2 NASCAR weekends into the season if you count the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum, and we had rain there, and now we have rain here at Daytona. We're 0 for 2. Hopefully the forecast at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Hampton, Georgia area, just south of Atlanta, looks good for next weekend because, boy, TV ratings have to be hurting pretty badly here these first couple weeks of the year. I mean, considering they had to move channels for the Cup Series race. I mean, it was supposed to be on Big Fox last week, and it got moved to FS1 because it got moved up a day. And it didn't get moved up a day until about 5 hours before the race started, and I don't even know how many even diehard fans might have been aware that the race took place Saturday. I don't even know if my grandpa knew that it got moved up. I have to make a visit this weekend with him. I'll have to ask him. Still single file under caution with 21 laps to go, so we get a restart in here. It'll be with less than 20 laps remaining.
Last pitted on lap number 25, the top 4 in the running order. Pitted on lap 25.
I believe Amanda may have caught up with a former ARCA Menards winner here at Daytona. Amanda?
Jamie, I think what's awesome, there's 21 laps to go, and the drivers on track are going to be looking to add their name to the list of the notable drivers that have won here at Daytona. And that's why I got this guy, Grant Enfinger. You talk about winning at Daytona. I asked you off camera, where does that rank? Tell those guys.
It's definitely special. I mean, anytime you can point the victory lane here at Daytona International Speedway is special. Just driving through the tunnel is special here. But to cut the victory lane is obviously special. Had a few good nights here, a couple in the ARCA car and one in the truck. I was aiming for one of those tonight. It just it didn't work out. Kind of got caught up in the last lap chaos there. Both me and Cody did. And then CR7 also has an ARCA car here. They got caught up in one of the first lap crashes of the ARCA car. So typical kind of Daytona. I always love this place. Sometimes it loves me back.
One of the things that I love about Grant Enfinger when we're doing our research, especially from the truck series to ARCA, I often see you hanging around in the ARCA pits. Does it ever leave you?
I love racing. So, I love racing. I enjoy this stuff.
I'm not going to ask you about Phoenix anymore, I promise.
You can ask me. Maybe.
Thank you, Grant.
And we talk about this being a development series. I mean, so many of the faces that you saw winning in this series have now moved up. I mean, there's many notable winners. How about the last three champions in the ARCA Menards series? Look at him here. How about Nick Sanchez? Just got his first career truck series win about 2 hours ago.
You see Ty Gibbs up in the Cup Series right now. He parlayed an ARCA Menards championship next year, an Xfinity championship.
And Jesse Love, no doubt, he's going to have something to say in the Xfinity series this year. 10 wins out of 20 in this series last year for Jesse Love is quite impressive. And guess what? That 20 car is leading here tonight and has led the most laps.
Yeah, those 10 wins remind me of a guy, the last guy to win more than 10 times in the modern era, and that was Tim Steele. And unfortunately, we lost him within the last couple of months. What a great talent. 3-time champion here in the ARCA Menards series.
Thinking of his family, I'm glad that you mentioned that. So 20 laps to go. Jake Finch has done a heck of a job. He's led 43 laps so far. Andres Perez, in his second season here, first time ever at Daytona. Green flag is in the air once again.
Yeah, those Venturi teammates lined back up again. She's going to be paying some big dividends as personal. Not clear.
Yeah, Andy, not clear. Tim Richmond's there.
Andy J in the 73 trying to get into that bottom lane. There's Greg Van Alst wondering where he went. He slipped back a few positions.
Tim Richmondson made a nice recovery up here in the third spot on the inside line.
Ryan Huff taking a peek there on the outside.
Remember we were single file before that caution came out?
Not anymore.
Twins go time.
Great question. I think it all depends on how long this outside lane stays in. We've got two really, really fast cars.
And around goes the 99. That's Michael Maples.
Oh!
And another huge hit. And they hit again.
There's change.
Mentioned Scott Melton.
Is that Big Willie? That was Big Willie that hit Scott Melton.
Willie Mullins right there in the 3. He was the pole sitter.
Looked like he hit him really hard. Then it looked like it hung the throttle wide open almost.
Yeah, a couple big impacts there. Obviously, Scott Melton getting hooked head on into the wall. He obviously had a big wreck here in last year's race, and I'm sure he's disappointed with that result. And Big Willie with pole-sitting car, unfortunately stranded in the grass here.
Curious what happened to this car right here, Michael Maples. It looked like he was the first to go around. Wonder if he had some help.
It was announced that he will be running full-time this year for Andy Hillenberg. Look at all the damage to Big Willie's
They're having to
Mustang.
help him get that window net down. Usually drivers will put that window net down if they're able. That's a good sign that they are okay, but since they are helping him, just want to make sure he's okay.
You can see Scott Melton moving around in his car up right.
Scott Melton's had some gnarly wrecks on the super speedways at ARCA the last couple seasons.
So let's take a look back, see where this all went sideways.
You can look for that 99 car on the right side of your screen. Gets pretty wide coming off the corner and just gets it loose. Just got loose. He's got something sparking back there. I think he had some sort of an issue where he lost the back of the car because he was kind of tracking up the racetrack all the way on the exit of the corner by himself, and then obviously collects kind of a bystander there in the 69 car, and really Mullins hits a ton in the back of that car.
And it's hard to see it from this angle, but there was a lot more smoke than it looked like, probably from the angle that we were looking at it. So Willie was probably in that smoke. He's going to catch Melton in the right rear corner.
Tell you what, that was a great evasive maneuver by that black car there. A lot of these other guys missing some of this debris, and then you got SVG here coming to pit road, just rejoining the race, and he tattoos the infield.
Chantel, the 75 goes around.
You can see it right there where you mentioned that it looked like the throttle hung. Hoping that Willie is okay. So violent, you see that impact. They have brought the red flag out, but I'm hearing the fans all applauding, so that is usually a very good sign to say that they see the driver exit the car. Of course, very thankful for that. Yep, there he is.
That's a great sight right there.
Darn.
To the fans.
Not the way you wanted to see his day end. It was going so beautifully. The emotion that we saw in him when they announced that he had the pole, it was just beautiful. He and his wife just hugging and everybody coming up and high-fiving him.
You know, I was talking to him and his wife Dinah yesterday, actually before qualifying. She lost her father just in the last couple of weeks. So he's the reason they're able to do this was her father. So they have his name on the car.
Well, it's good to see him walking under his own power.
Now I see why they call him Big Willie. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, that is Big Willie.
Called him Dutch. That's the name on the top of the car.
Big with 2 G's. Big Willie.
Cleanup from this latest caution. That's the
Big Willie.
Red flag is out. 17 laps to go.
We've gone off the rails.
You hung with us this long? Stick around.
We've gone off the rails tonight. It's been a long night. Big Willie. Congratulations to him qualifying on the pole though today. That's a cool moment, as you heard from that story there from Jamie Little. In all seriousness. Oh man, we have gone off the rails. In the ARCA 200, red flag. At nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, we are on a red flag at 17 laps to go. It's our 3rd red flag of the weekend already. Second for a crash. We had a red flag late in the dual race Thursday night. I would say last night, but technically it's 2 days ago now. Thursday night in dual race number 2, the big one with about 8 laps to go, caused about half of the dual field in dual race number 2 to get involved in an incident in the tri-oval, so there was a red flag there for about 8 minutes. There was also a red flag during the truck race today for about 7 minutes due to rain at the end of stage 2. It was a quick pop-up shower and came and went, and we didn't lose the track, so we got back to racing there pretty quickly after the fact. So that was the 3 red flags that we ended up seeing. 4 more cautions before this is wrapped up? I sure hope not. If that happens, we're going to be here till like 2. We're going to be here another hour. I don't want 17 laps to take an hour. Especially this late at night. Not that we're going to be streaming tomorrow, more than likely, with the Xfinity race. I should say later today. I would just think that this race was supposed to start like 12 and a half hours from now, but obviously it's not going to. The Xfinity race still scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. NASCAR Fan 05, thanks for tuning in. 4 more sounds right. I really hope it's not 4. Since when has an ARCA Daytona race been on rails? This is true. This has been a pretty good race, though, all things considered. Like, it hasn't gotten utterly sloppy. I thought it was going to the way we had the big one on lap 4, but honestly, that did settle things down for a little bit, and then, I mean, we had that wreck basically after the yellow came out at the halfway mark, and took out a couple other cars, unfortunately, there. But, I mean, outside of those 2 moments, it's been a relatively clean race. Yeah, we've had cautions here and there. We're going to have that from time to time in any racing series, and it hasn't gone off the rails, at least to this point. Hopefully it doesn't for these final 17 laps.
The commitment of the Daytona area race fans.
It's fantastic. They got a last-minute double header.
Absolutely.
Just supposed to be the trucks tonight. They got the ARCA Menard Series action. Hey, Jake Finch, we've been talking about him doing a fantastic job, has led the most laps. Style him up.
Let's do it. Hey, Jake. Phil Parsons in the box booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir. Got you loud and clear, Phil.
Man, you have done an awesome job. We're really proud of you up here, and I know your dad's proud of you up here, James. Your dad, James, has won here twice in the Xfinity Series, and I know if you could pull this thing off, it'll be the biggest win of his career.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just got to get the job done first. It's not finished yet, so if we could get that done, it'd be awesome.
Well, you and your teammate Gus Dean have really done a nice job working together. There's some other strong cars up there, but do you guys have a plan for the end of this thing?
I have no idea so far. Just trying to do my job up here and do what I'm told. You know, I got Shannon Rush on top of the box, who is such a good guy and has been such a big deal in my career. And same thing with Tyler Mond. He's like a brother to me, and he's doing a great job on the stand up there today and Sunday, tomorrow at the Daytona 500. So super grateful to have these guys behind me, and just excited to see what we can do.
Hey, Jake, it's Austin Cindric watching you here. Have you ever looked in the rearview mirror this many times in a race?
Actually, I haven't looked at it many times tonight. Just have a lot of faith in Tyler and everything he says. You know, he does such a good job, and just try to listen to what he tells me and do what I'm told, and it'll all work out, you know.
Awesome. Well, best of luck. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Austin.
So much trust in your spotter. And right there, he's not even looking in his mirror much. He's just listening.
Good for him. Love it.
It's awesome. Let's get some.
That's a lot of speedy
reports.
dry.
Let's check in with Amanda, who's with a very happy father right now, right?
Absolutely. And Jamie, we're almost rounding into that 1 a.m. time, and I love that Phil called it ARCA After Dark, because David just told me his nickname is Sunny. And we were talking earlier just about you being out here and sharing this experience with your son, and you told me how calm, cool, and collected he is. But how are you with this part, the watching?
Well, what makes me very nervous is Tim's a journeyman lineman. He works on 60,000 volt power lines. That makes me nervous. Out here, he's in his safest equipment in the world. You know, he's been collected in a couple accidents, but this year versus 2 years ago, we got a great crew. 2 years ago, we ran out of gas in overtime, and so we think we're good to go. We pitted 1 lap after the Venturini cars, so we got 1 more lap of gas than they do, so we think we're good to go to the end.
He's currently sitting in third. There's 17 laps to go at the present. What would you say to him right now?
Just nervous. Wish my wife was here, but she's at home.
Thank you,
wasn't nervous. He's more nervous about his day job, and here he's not. And he's like, the dad overtook it. I'm nervous. I love that emotion. Let's hear from him. What do you think?
Yeah, we talked to the dad, see if we can talk to the son. Hey, Tim Richmond, Phil Parsons in the Fox booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got you, Phil.
Well, we just talked to your dad, and he said he's nervous. You're doing a great job up here running in the third spot. Inside of 20 laps to go, you got a plan to try to get this thing to the front. We know a couple years ago you were fighting for the lead and ran out of fuel. What do you got for him?
Yeah, so hopefully we can make it to the end with a good finish.
Well, you certainly have done a great job. Finish it off.
Appreciate it, guys.
The emotion of the parents. Just love it. This is a huge moment. His son has been running top 10 the entire race. You see the 27 listed as third right now.
Well, we know Dave's nervous. He said he was nervous, but Tim sounded pretty cool, didn't he?
He did. Gusty, we probably talked about him more than anybody tonight. He's been aggressive, made a lot of moves, kept himself up there.
When I look at our top 7 cars, they're honestly probably our 7 best cars. So I think we're going to have a lot of guys trying to jockey for position at the front of the field. Be interesting to see what the Venturini cars do on this restart, having to be lined up 1-2, inside outside. Do they do a teammate restart? Do they just race it out? And then having the red cars up there as well, being able to, are they able to hook up and run together? And I've talked about him. I think he's impressed me more than the other driver trying to get to the front of the field. Our winner last year, Greg Van Alst, trying to kind of recover that track position from some of those times where those outside lane dies and he falls back to the field.
Heather, who do you have?
Well, catching up now with our leaders, crew chief Shannon Rush. And Shannon, we heard Jake talk about how good of a guy you are, but also you have a special relationship. You tend to bring wins to the Finch family, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really important. I get along great with him. James is a great guy. I like Jake too a ton. First time I worked with him was at Dover, and we won that race. So I joked around with him in the off season. I said, maybe we should just stop here and we could be at 100%. So hopefully we can stay at 100% after the race tonight. He's been doing a great job.
Now, he's had some nerves, so what are you telling him to calm those nerves?
Anything I can. He doesn't. It's probably the biggest stage that he's ever been a part of. Obviously, he's been here several times with his dad's teams. But it's tough for a young kid, It's just I don't know what to tell him. I tell him everything I can think of, But he's done great. He's gotten better every one of these restarts. I wish we could run some green flag laps here and just kind of get single file and just drive to the end. But I've had to force him to drink fluids and eat. So hopefully we can take this number 20 Phoenix Racing Toyota Camry to victory lane and I'll spray him with water.
Well, good luck on trying to keep it 100% and getting another win for Jake. But we're going to talk to another crew chief as part of the Venturini Motorsports team. This is Kevin Reed Jr. for Gustine. And Gus does well here, yet you kind of have a little bit of a curse. So are you going to overcome that tonight?
I hope so. I mean, working with Gus, like working with the Iceman, nothing shakes him. So I wouldn't want anybody else driving this 55 Dean Customary Toyota Camry. We brought our friends with us, and it looks real friendly on that front row right now. But we're going to work together, see what we can do, and then we'll battle it out at the end.
Now, you're right behind Jake Finch right now, so teammates come into play. Obviously, you guys lost a few of those early. So is there anybody else you're looking to work with, or are you going to stick with the team?
Nah, like I said, we brought our friends with us. I think that's our best shot we got. We're going to do some teammate restarts here and go shut this thing out.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I like it. Heather, you're wearing Venturini blue. Fit right in, girl. How about the ladies working the pits tonight? What a long day. Doing great job, bringing the energy. Got 16 laps to go. And going back to Shannon Rush. So he talked about the close relationship he has with James Finch, and he's been in that organization. Do you know he was actually the crew chief for Brad Keselowski when he drove that #1 Phoenix racing car to victory lane in Talladega? That was 2009. He wasn't listed as the crew chief, but he was the physical crew chief there. So he's got a pretty good track record with them.
Shannon's clearly won a lot of races in this series, and I don't know about you, he almost seemed kind of nervous for the end of this race. He clearly cares a lot about the family and the job that Jake's doing, and I think this one seems like it'll mean a lot to him.
He said he'd spray his driver with water.
He's only 18, so.
That's right. Well, Andres Perez, we've talked about him as well. He's in the number 2 Rev Racing full-time this year, running 3rd right now, and he's done a great job tonight.
Remember, he wasn't old enough here last February to run this race.
Look how cute.
Started born in 2005. Goodness gracious. He was a Mexico Truck Series champion. He actually ran full-time last year in the NASCAR Mexico Series while he was finishing second here in the ARCA Menard Series. He finished in the top 5 last year in points in the NASCAR Mexico Series, and he ran the race out at the Coliseum, the NASCAR Mexico race, and had a top 10 finish there.
He was actually the youngest winner ever in the NASCAR Mexico Series, so he's been doing a lot of racing in his career. We're happy to have him full-time here. Just knocking on the door of his first career win, just like Nick Sanchez was all last year, and he comes out swinging first race, gets that win. So 15 laps to go. Jake Finch continues to lead. He's led 48 laps tonight. Has done a heck of a job. Gus Dean right behind him. It's been a minute since he's gone to victory lane. He's pretty hungry for that.
He finished second last year at Talladega and second at Michigan in the limited number of starts here for Venturini.
They're continuing to clean up here, so we're going to step aside. 15 laps to go. You got to stay with us. We'll be back for the Sioux Chief Fast Track 200 finish.
We'll go through the full field running order real quick with 15 laps to go. Jake Finch is currently your race leader under caution still following that red flag. For the lengthy cleanup on the front stretch between turn 4 and the center of the tri-oval, as well as the entrance of pit road, a lot of speedy dry left down in that area of the racetrack and still, again, cleaning up. With Jake Finch currently as your race leader, Gus Dean is in second, Andres Perez in third, Tim Richmond fourth, Andy Jankowiak in fifth, LeVar Scott sixth, Armani Williams seventh, Greg Van Alst eighth, Steve Lewis Jr. ninth, and Ryan Huff rounds out the top 10. Thomas Annunziata is in 11th, Christian Rose in 12th, Marco Andretti in 13th, Patrick Emmerling 14th, Isaac Johnson 15th, Jason Kitzmiller 16th, Jill Linster in 17th. Make that Tommy O'Leary in 17th. Jill Linster's falling back a little bit. Might have just hit pit road. Brian Dozit is in 18th. Alex Clubb 19th. Jill Linster is now 20th. Brad Smith 21st. Michael Maples 22nd. Amber Bulkin in 23rd. Both Maples and Bulkin are a lap down. Scott Milton out of the race 24th. Willie Mullins out of the race just during that most recent crash. He'll finish 25th, Tanner Gray 26th, Ryan Roulette 27th, Sean Cord 28th, Leland Honeyman in 29th, Bryce Hogberg in 30th, Justin Bonsignor in 31st, Dale Quarterly 32nd, Shane Van Gisberg in 33rd, Mandy Chick 34th, Caleb Costner 35th, Jeff Schofield 36th, Tony Breidinger 37th, Chris Wright 38th, John Aramendia in 39th, and Ed Pompa rounds out the field in 40th. 14 to go, still under a full screen commercial break as of right now. And we are not going to take another ad break the rest of this race tonight. So stay tuned right here on the channel. And we'll keep this live commentary coverage rolling. So many competitive cars left, so few laps. Yeah, that is very true. I will say there's more competitive cars in the field this year compared to recent years, or the recent years meaning within the last 4 or 5 years or less when it comes to ARCA at Daytona. Quite a few staying in that lead draft. I mean, even back on lap 4 when the whole field was 3x3x3, it looked like there was 20 plus cars that were actually in that lead pack. And I feel like usually you have less than 10 that are able to actually, maintain themselves with the leaders at the fastest cars in the field or up at the front. But not the case so far today.
Three-way battle for the lead. But look at this. Mario Andretti, who led earlier, first past these other 3 cars.
The man that's leading this race, he's the one that's struggling. The one right behind, he can just sit there with all kinds of confidence.
Right now, however, it doesn't look too difficult. Wings out in front of the field at speeds of over 180 miles an hour here at Daytona. Mario Andretti ready to take the checkered flag, and there it is. He made it. Mario Andretti has won the 1967 Daytona 500.
How about that footage and the call by Jim McKay? Seeing Mario Andretti, the IndyCar guy, the open wheel guy, comes down here and wins the Daytona 500. And now we're talking about his grandson, Marco Andretti, who he's beat up and bruised and battered. He's been through it, but he's currently 13th and still on the lead lap.
Yeah, certainly a top 10 is not out of the question here at all for Marco.
Let's take a look back at one of the incidents he had.
See, Marco's getting to experience every angle of Daytona today.
Yeah, the backwards part isn't that much fun.
Backwards part, the grass.
Dave Bacon, thanks for tuning in.
The cultural experience.
Marco's doing good. He's still in it. Currently 13th.
Point, Jamie, he's still on the lead lap.
Mamrat Horan, thanks for tuning in as well.
Yeah, being caught in this draft.
Pablo Valenzuela, thanks for tuning in.
Look faster, that's for sure. So should be interesting to see what he thinks of this experience after it's over.
And the guy right next to him, Christian Rose, he had that huge save. Called that the first Reese's sweet move of the race. And he's back out there. He's got a chance, sitting in 12th right now.
So we heard from some of the crew chiefs at Venturini Motorsports. It sounds like they're doing a bit of a teammate restart here. So letting the 20 come down in front of the 55, and that should really help this inside lane get going. So, the sooner that the other cars, the other teams can recognize this and take advantage. But otherwise, the goal here is to really string out the bottom.
I like the strategy here for the Venturini cars.
So it'll be 12 laps to go with the line. Jake Finch, Gus Dean, side by side. Let's see if that gamesmanship, that team, it did exactly like you said. The 20 slips in front of the 55. Tim Richmond in the 27 in the outside line, getting that energy.
How about LeVar Scott leading that outside line with Greg Van Alst?
Tim Richmond falling back like a rock, no help at all. You see him going backwards in the middle.
He's going to fall to the very back of the pack, no help in the middle.
And what's happened here is we've got two of these Rev Racing cars really close in proximity to where they can work together, really take the fight to the Venturini cars.
Van Alst on the bumper of the number 6, LeVar Scott. LeVar Scott's teammate is the number 2. He's third in line on the inside.
Yeah, LeVar Scott would love to be able to get with his teammate.
Ooh, big save in the back of the field off the front bumper of the 44 again. Unfortunately, this outside lane just doesn't have enough cars, doesn't have enough strength on these restarts to really be able to recover. And it takes a while, and we've got two of the fastest cars at the front of the field.
See the very tail end of that back, 32, Christian Rose. A nice recovery from his spin earlier.
Absolutely.
I asked you earlier, Austin, when is go time? And so often the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, they say with about 10 laps to go, that's really hammered down. But you said it's situational.
Absolutely. And right now, the situation is this lead pack is getting away. And if I'm Greg Van Alst, if I'm LeVar Scott, my opportunity to win this race is driving away from me. And with only 10 or 11 laps left, you have to be able to understand what it's going to take to get back to the front of the field. Whether that's getting organized, does that mean you're getting down to the bottom of the field? Obviously, you've lost touch with your teammate. The only teammate in the field is third right now. So he's definitely in a tough spot. And I think your guys that have an opportunity are these 6 cars that are in a single file line. Our spotters going back and talking to each other. Between the 2 car, the 73, the 13, the 62. Are we finding spotters making deals, trying to figure out what it's going to take to pass these Venturini cars, generate a run, and when you get too wide, it's going to pull up this pack of 2 wide cars back really quickly. So I think having a plan here in the next 10 laps, spotters are going to be running around on the roof trying to understand what's going to work best for them.
And Annunziata in a 44, he doesn't want to just back off and let the 6 in front of him, even though that would probably help if they could get single file. They're not that far behind. Oh, that 6-car pack.
A huge run there from 35, really stacked up this outside lane, and it's kind of released Annunziata and Andretti to really try and close back up to that lead field. I'd be interested to see if they could join them, because now they don't have that side draft effect.
Really impressed with the 17 of Andretti, that he's hanging on as well as he is.
Yeah, right now running up in the top 10.
Scott trying to close in on the bumper of Marco. But where did Van Alst go?
Unfortunately, he's still stuck.
There he is on the outside. Trying to make something work. Drops down in front of Ryan Huff.
So now with this field single file, you should be able to see everyone start to close back up to these leaders. And then at that point, who's going to pull out and make a run?
You're going to have the momentum when you get there. That may be the best opportunity. You're going to have help.
I completely agree, but you can't pull out a line without help.
Yeah. That's where the spotters need to be working together. Say, hey, if we get there, will you go with me? Annunziata decided not to take that run. He didn't really have any help from behind. I don't think he had enough momentum to even try it. He's in the 44 car.
And Van Alst does have a teammate, but he's nowhere in sight, so he's out there by himself. And he's the type of guy, he goes around in the garage, he talks to the guys that he watches and practice. Things will run well with him. So you think he's kind of picking and choosing at these moments who he knows he can trust and try to move forward with?
Yeah, well, I think trust is the big factor, because here, and everybody's kind of got an equal gap right now. So the only way to generate a run is to generate a gap. And when you generate a gap, you have to lift up the throttle and trust that the guy behind you isn't going to just leave you out to dry, or going to be able to deliver a push that's comfortable enough to get to the front of the field. As you see some pushes coming from the middle of the pack there from the 44 car.
How about that blue and white number 13 of Romani Williams right now, running up in the top 5, doing an amazing job.
He's kind of been quiet all day, kind of just snuck up here in the top 5, but he's in great position right here. You know, to be able to be one of the first ones to make a move, as there's a ton of energy as he's tucked up right behind the 73, and it's right in that part of the pack where he's got enough cars behind him that I think are poised to go out and help. It's just understanding the right time to make that move.
The 62, Steve Lewis Jr., haven't talked about him, from Ransomville, New York. He has Reed Sorensen as his spotter. Saw Reed walking around today. Longtime Cup Series driver.
He finished 13th here last year, so he does have a little bit of experience.
Yeah, he's in the right place when it counts most. 6 laps to go.
Meanwhile, no change at the front of the field. Jake Finch got the best view out of anyone in the field, and I question his feedback on whether or not he's looking in the mirror, because that's what's going to become really important, and how long they stay committed.
I could not look in the mirror.
Oh, I mean, it's either a lot of trust in your team, or you just trust that your car's fast enough. But when it comes down, we're 5 laps to go left in the race. You're starting to get nervous. Things are going too well at this point in time, and there's guys behind that have got to be getting impatient.
I mean, I think we typically look in the mirror probably 50% of the time. I mean, just glance out front and then look in the mirror. It's just a constant.
There'll be laps that I'll be leading at a super speedway, and I never look out in front of me. I mean, you sometimes just have to be glued to what's going on behind you, and in tune with the information that you're getting from the spotter. But I think everyone has to do that differently.
It's going to be 4 to go this time when they get to the line.
You know, we came into this race, and it's always the question, who can stop Venturini Motorsports, if anybody? They've won 8 of the last 13 races on super speedway racetracks. Corey Heim, the last one to do it. He did it here in 22. And Jake Finch, boy, working 60 laps led so far tonight. So impressive for this young man. We've got a car on fire.
Oh, Marco.
Andretti. He's had that damage, had a couple issues earlier, and the caution is out for the 8th time with about 3.5 laps to go in this race.
Oh, wow. More than likely, we will have a 1-lap overtime shootout. I don't think we can do team orders there. I don't think there's any way that they would allow team orders like that, or the teams to do that.
Yeah, it should be really interesting to watch this strategy here as you see Marco get out of the car. And what happened here, obviously they're all just running single file, so whether that's just from damage from before, started smoking on corner entry there, turn 1, right front tire flat, into the wall, probably cuts an oil line or something, caused that fire.
He was running up in the top 10. When we talked before about him running just outside the top 10, it was not out of the question.
Dang.
But that's going to be the end of it for ARCA.
I'll tell you what, our newcomers have had a very tough time. We got
They have
a modified legend, have a mechanical problem. We got,
oh, look at the smoke there, Austin.
Marco Andretti struggling. We got Shane Van Gisbergen out in the first wreck. These guys have not had an easy introduction into super speedway racing. That's a tough link with the right front going down on corner entry from the bottom lane.
So you mentioned overtime. So they do have one overtime, as you mentioned, in the ARCA Menard series. So what would happen is they get one attempt at it. They'll bring out the white flag and the green flag together, and then the next lap will end the race. Whether that's a caution, the next flag would end the race. So if it's caution, it freezes the field. And then, of course, if it's a checkered flag, we'll have our clean cut winner.
Talk about an important restart now.
Oh, my other question is, how many laps of caution are we going to have?
Yes, and remember, these drivers in the top 4 right now, all pitted on lap number 25.
So what does Gus Dean do? Does he play Mr. Nice Guy this time around?
Well, I can tell you I have yet to see a restart where the outside lane's hung in there the entire lap. So I think if I'm Jake Finch, the decision's really easy. I want to be on the bottom.
Inside, without a doubt.
But the conversation within the team, do you do a teammate restart or not? It's a way of guaranteeing your team a win. There's that. And I feel like if I'm Gus Dean, honestly, it's probably my best chance to win the race too. Because I've yet to see the outside lane really pay dividends. They were really able to string out the field by at least four cars clear on the inside row before the start-finish line. So I think that's probably Gus Dean's best chance to win is if they do the teammate restart, as backwards as that sounds. But I don't see them getting enough of a push on the outside to make it happen.
Well, there's Bill. He's trying to figure that out right now.
That's a great position to be in as a team owner, but a very difficult one. The whole teammate thing on super speedways is very challenging to navigate, and see someone navigating that at the moment.
See him stepping up to the 20 box right now to talk to Shannon Rush.
He probably already talked to Kevin Green Jr. Now he's going to go talk to Shannon.
Can they say, no, I don't like your plan?
Well, I think
They can say that.
It's important to set ground rules, just like it's like being siblings. You got to set ground rules when you work with each other, and I think getting everybody on the same page, and then whether or not if the drivers or spotters and everyone on track is able to execute it, that's another thing. But it should be interesting to see what they decide.
So we're going to have a good finish here. It's been a fun race so far, but we have more racing to come. We've got the Xfinity Series tomorrow, and then on Sunday, the biggest day in racing, it just got a little bit bigger as the Grand Marshal will be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He'll kick off the Daytona 500. Great American Race returns Sunday at 2:30 Eastern. That's only on Fox. The guy standing to my right, Austin Cindric, great qualifying effort. You will lead the field. You'll start the field 6th in the 3rd row.
That's not bad. It's only 5 more spots over 500 miles. A spot every 100 miles. I'll take it. It's a great opportunity. Biggest race of the year. Really looking forward to it. But looking forward to this restart. See what these guys decide. See what happens. Whether if there's teammate strategies or a lot of aggressive pushes. I mean, this is your time to go, and we've seen a lot of aggressive racing already.
We talk about teammates, and they always talk about how good a teammate Gus Dean is, but this is Daytona. You know what I mean? I don't
It changes your life. You guys always say that, right?
I think Gus is going to be okay saying, well, I'm going to just push Jake to make sure we finish 1-2, and I don't want him to be. I don't want him to be like that. And Jake, I was like, he's only 18 years old. He's probably going to have a lot of other chances, but this is Daytona. You never know when you're going to get that next chance.
And another point is neither one of them are running full time for the championship. It's all about the race win.
Absolutely.
So have at it, boys.
It's about the trophy.
Okay, so we just showed the clock. It's about 1:25 a.m. in the east. So I asked our stat boys, what's the latest we've raced here? So they said the latest a race ended here was 2:40 a.m. Back in 2015. It was the summer race when Dale Jr. won. So
I'm happy to hear we're not breaking any records.
We won't break a record.
Yes, thank you.
I believe that was the last time Hendrick won the Daytona 500 was back in 14. Is that right, boys?
14.
It's been about 10 years.
Tell you what, all that speedy dry in the middle of 1 and 2. I wonder how many more caution laps we're going to have here. We just saw crew chief on the 20 car.
Too now.
He's looking a little worried. Shannon was. It was. I don't know where they're at. I don't know the mileage of these cars, but we have gone a very long time since we pitted.
I mean, I think green flag laps, they talk about somewhere between 46 and 48, but obviously they know they can extend that because of the caution laps. We've done what? I mean, we're at 74. We're at 74 right now, 74 laps.
Yeah, the top 4 drivers, they last pitted lap 25.
Yeah, I mean, think about how much time we've been on this broadcast. That's like two hours of driving your car. I mean, that's 55 laps since pit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a ton of laps. And we've obviously had a ton of cautions, but we could see some cars run out of fuel here. It's definitely not over.
About 25 of those laps under caution. And I know that's another thing. A lot of these young drivers, they've never really had to do this before. Never had to try to save fuel.
The Rock.
Jake Finch has never had to try to save any fuel.
As a pro wrestling fan, I understand where you're coming from.
And maybe the 25 caution laps are going to be
He's a bad
enough
guy now.
to have them have enough fuel to get to the end here.
Well, the one thing I saw in that graphic there, we've got 2 drivers that last pit on lap 37. That's the 13 car and the 62 car. Those are the first cars that, at least us, who don't have all the data and information in front of us, we know that those guys can make it, as well as Annunziata. So those are the first cars that you know can make it on fuel and aren't going to be in threat of running out. But even as we sat on board there with LeVar Scott, you know, I'd normally say you're shutting off the car. You're pushing the clutch in. You're shutting the ignition off, and you're using no fuel. And I didn't hear that out of LeVar, so maybe there's not as much of a concern, or obviously miscommunication from the team if there is a concern on fuel. So certainly interested to see if this plays out in the strategy at all.
That's Andy Jankowiak. Let's see what he's thinking right now, Phil.
Let's see if we can dial him up. Hey, Andy J. Phil Parsons in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
I can hear you.
Great. Well, Austin and Jamie and I were wondering what's your plan here? You're in a great spot right now. You're going to restart second row outside. More than likely, you're going to have one of the Venturini cars. We're assuming that maybe it might be Gus Dean. Have you guys talked to them at all?
No. I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor, and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
So, I know you have a great relationship with the Venturinis. I know when you had trouble last year at Kansas, they jumped in to try to help you. But
I'm not lifting till I see God or the checkered flag.
I don't think I have a great relationship with anyone with one lap to go at Daytona, so we'll see. I'm in a great spot. I love my Class Motorsports team, and what the hell, we got a shot to win this thing at Daytona, so we're going to give it our best.
That would sure make that pizza taste good when you get home, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Good luck.
That was great.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate everything you do.
That was phenomenal.
I am not lifting until I see God or a checkered flag. That is the quote of the day. Thank you, Andy J.
That is the best quote of the day. It's the best quote of the week.
At least one more lap of cleanup.
No wonder he gets
One to go. One to go.
Gets enough tips to pay for his race car. I mean, talk about pizza delivery. You must be pretty quick at that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
They may have the same situation here. Gus Dean is going to be the inside. Jake Finch took the outside.
That's a quote that should have been taken out of like Talladega Nights or something.
Executed it well the last time. Looks like Brad Smith is blowing up as it goes through this trial here.
Oh boy.
He's pulled down off the racetrack and is getting out of the way. I don't think that'll.
I hope he wins now, just for that quote alone.
Yeah, but to Phil's point, we got Jake Finch, who chose the outside, which we've already established isn't the preferred lane. So we're doing a teammate restart again. We're giving both of our cars a shot to win. As you see the 48 of Brad Smith, he came by start-finish line under our booth here smoking. And we got safety vehicles kind of following wherever he ends up.
Yeah, he's well out of the way right now. He's around the end of pit road. Well,
how
out of
this
the way.
affects when we go green.
So you saw the overtime rule once again. There'll be a one-lap shootout. Next time around, the drivers will receive the white and the green flags. They will have one lap to settle the score. And if the caution comes out, that's where the field will be frozen. Otherwise, they'll race around to the checkered flag. Now we're being told they're going to add a lap of caution because of the Brad Smith issue, so obviously he was leaking some fluid.
I want to see sweat on crew chief's foreheads right now. Is that a thing? That'll tell us.
Yeah, they had to add another lap at the 48. Hopefully they get him off, like, now.
It's another lap for these drivers that are lined up behind these Venturini cars. It's very obvious what they're going to do. So how do you combat it? Are you able to get locked in behind you and push through and try and generate a run? You kind of know how this is going to play out. You know how many laps are left. You know when the race is going to end. You know how everyone is going to handle the start. So you have the entire playbook in front of you. Each driver's trying to think of that scenario right now as we have extra laps.
Yeah, for Andres Perez right now running third, do you try to get behind Gustine and push him so hard he's not able to lay off the throttle a little bit to let Jake in?
Yeah, I think honestly, as much as we kind of laughed about it and smiled at Andy J's strategy, in this situation is the best strategy. You just drive through the car in front of you and keep as much momentum as possible and hope that it disrupts, you know, the choreography of this teammate restart.
Yeah, they did it perfectly last time. If they can execute that again like they did, then it may be tough to do anything about them getting together. Now, once you go down the backstretch, all bets are off. Maybe you can get together with some other guys and make a run on them.
And there might be some more importance behind the finish of this race and this teammate restart. And we talked about going for the win, but Venturini is going for their 100th win in the ARCA Menard Series, and that's a big milestone for the team. And I'm sure they're pretty poised to make that happen between these two cars.
Let's check in with Heather real quick.
And catching up now with the crew chief of the two for Andres Perez, Danny Johnson. Danny, I hear your spotter up there working through a plan with your driver. So what are we going to see him do when we go green?
We're just going to try to see what we can make happen here. Go for the win. That's what we all come here to do. One of the biggest races of the year for us. So we'll get after it here and see if everything falls out the way it needs to be.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I think there's some nerves.
Totally.
A big moment. 3 of the top 6 drivers right now have never raced here before. Jake Finch, the leader, is one of them. Andres Perez in 4th. And Armani Williams.
All right, so here we go. 1 lap and only 1 overtime in ARCA. So this is going to be it. Whether the yellow or the checker comes out on this final lap, this is going to do it. Really, with just having 1 lap, they're pretty much going to be getting up to speed the entire time. So it's going to be interesting to see how close this is going to be. I would not be shocked if it's just side by side, door to door, all the way back around until they get the checker. Green flag back in the air. You got Gustine on the bottom lane, and you got the 20 of Finch on the outside. Both Venturini Motorsport race cars. Jankowiak on the outside lane behind Finch, already 3 wide. Further back, the 36 of Ryan Huff trying to make something work there. He doesn't have any help. Gustine is clear in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Andres Perez in the 2. Big gap built now between the 20 and the 55. Dean up to cover the 20. Still covering. Contact for second, car in the wall, and a big wreck headed into turn 3 behind Gustine. 1 car is up almost into the catch fence. That is the 2 of Perez as he slides on his driver's side door down across the apron. Checkered flag will be waving under the yellow, and it will be Gustine winning at Daytona. A vicious crash there for Andres Perez as he went sliding up nearly into the catch fence. He was basically sliding on the safer barrier with the rear of his race car, then came shooting down across the bank into the racetrack on his driver's side door. He's still scored in 9th right now, but that is because not many cars are able to make it out of that wreck and back across the start-finish line. Only 8 cars have reached the start-finish line as of right now. Checking on everybody involved in that incident. Perez is moving inside his race car. Good to see. Second scary crash of this race. And the second time today, if you count the truck race on top of this race, that we've seen a car either upside down or at least all four wheels up off the ground. And both on last lap crashes, nonetheless, on the back straightaway. This one more towards the entrance of turn 3. A lot of bump drafting going on from Jankowiak to the back of the 20 of Jake Finch. That turned Finch into the outside wall. He then gets hit from behind by a couple of other cars, obviously in the melee. At some point in time, the two of Andres Perez, who was on the inside, got hit in the right rear. That's what turned him up into the outside wall. And then he ended up somehow coming up off the ground. Rear of his car slid across the safer barrier while getting pushed by another car sitting sideways. And it was Jankowiak's race car, the 73, that was actually underneath the two. And that's what caused Andres Perez in the 2 car to get up off the ground. I didn't realize there was a car underneath, and that's why he was up in the air. So he was basically just riding on top of another car all the way down the racetrack, and that's why he was up on his driver's side door for as long as he was. At some point in time, he ended up rolling off the side of the 73. It wasn't necessarily a flip, but a little bit of air caught there for Andres Perez. And again, he was moving around, and it looked like he did get out under his own power. And hopefully everybody else that was collected in that incident further back is okay as well. Only saw 8 drivers get across the start-finish line, at least initially. Much like the Truck Series race earlier, when we go through the official results of this one, it'll actually be unofficial, as results could change overnight depending on where ARCA decides to figure out exactly when the caution took place. But it took place from second on back, so we know Gustine was ahead of the incident the entire way. And he is standing on the front stretch, as we'll get to hear from race winner Gustine right now.
And especially in memory of your grandfather, this milestone win becomes the 100th for Venturini Motorsports, and you are now a Daytona winner. How sweet does that sound?
You know what? I started racing when I was 4 years old in a tiny little dirt track in South Georgia. Spent a whole lot of miles, a whole lot of work, and a whole lot of people behind me. My granddad came to every race I ever ran, and every single one of them, he would tell me to get what I can. Even at the end when I would call him on the phone. Well, tonight, we got what we could, and it might not be the 500, it might not be the biggest race, but it is the biggest Coliseum, and for a small town kid from Bluffton, South Carolina, this is everything.
Gus, you got everything that you can out of this tonight. One more question for you. I want to go back to that restart real quick. Talk about the communication between you and Jake and what the orders were there.
Yeah, Venturini cars always work really well together. We always try to do the teammate restarts. We did the restart before that one. I love Jake. He's a great kid. He's a hell of a race car driver. He's got a big, bright future ahead of him. I just didn't have it in me to do the teammate restart there with 1 to go. I had a little bit of a special reason for tonight, and I came here with 1 mission.
Congratulations to Gustine.
Wow, what an interview.
Gustine getting the race win in the ARCA 200 at Daytona. As it looks, well, we don't really have many race statistics we can go off of here, but we obviously can go through the full field finishing order, which we will do right now. Unofficial results to this race, again, barring any sort of changing of the positions in which you see on our leaderboard right now and where they will actually be, like when you wake up again tomorrow morning, or later this morning, I should say, considering it is pushing near 2 a.m. on the East Coast in the U.S. But needless to say, Gustine, congratulations, getting the win here today. And really a last lap pass when you consider the fact that he was not the control car on that last restart. His teammate, in fact, of Jake Finch was. So Gustine, last lap pass, gets the win. Thomas Annunziato ends up finishing in second. He had an eventful day. He almost turned like 3 or 4 cars today. But he ends up finishing second in that cool Kyle Petty throwback scheme. Greg Van Olsen ends up with a third place run. Christian Rose in fourth, and Tim Richmond rounds out the top 5. Jason Kitzmiller comes back to finish in sixth. Jill Linster ends up in seventh. Alex Clubb eighth. Amber Balkin ninth. Somehow, I don't know how. She was like a lap down most of this race and still finished ninth place. Got through the carnage, I guess. Andy Jankowiak ends up finishing in 10th. Jake Finch, who was second on the final lap, leading coming to the restart, finishes 11th. Andres Perez, who was on the inside of row 2 behind Gustine when that accident ended up taking place, ends up finishing 12th. Armani Williams 13th, Steve Lewis Jr. in 14th. LeVar Scott 15th, Ryan Huff 16th, Patrick Emerly 17th, Isaac Johnson in 18th, Tommy O'Leary 19th, and Brian Dozit rounds out the top 20. Michael Maples in 21st, Brad Smith 22nd, Ryan Roulette in 23rd, Tanner Gray 24th, Marco Andretti 25th. He had a good night. He was in the top 10 before his car caught flames with about 4 to go. Bryce Hogberg ends up finishing 26th. Scott Melton, a scary incident there between him and Willie Mullins. Luckily, both of them were okay. Melton finishes 27th. Mullins right behind him in 28th. Shane Van Gisbergen finishes 29th. He was one of the early drivers who actually went to the garage, but again, no damage clock policy in ARCA, so that's why he was able to come out of the garage, out of the infield care center, and they actually got that car back up and running again. He ended up making up a few positions because I think he was 37th when the wreck initially took place, so getting some extra laps I think was the big thing there, but he gains 8 more positions, finishes 29th. Sean Core 30th, he had a great run, fast car, led some laps today. Leland Honeyman 31st, Justin Bonsignor ends up finishing at 32nd. He also had a really fast car, was up in the top 5 for most of the race when he was running through the first half. He was one of the drivers. Actually, his car was smoking. That's right. His car was smoking pretty badly for about 5 laps or so before the halfway mark, and they ended up having to pull that baby into the garage. Dale Quarterly wrecked at the halfway mark right after the caution flag came out. It wasn't all his fault. He kind of got ran into from behind. Some others were collected. He finishes 33rd. Mandy Chick 34th. Caleb Costner 35th. Jeff Schofield finishes 36th. Tony Breidinger taken out on that lap 4 accident. Chris Wright finishes 38th right behind her. John Aramendia ends up finishing in 39th, and then Ed Pompa rounds out the 40-car field today for ARCA. Thanks everybody for tuning in. 20 cars, by the way, finished on the lead lap in this one. 84 laps total distance, 4 laps past the scheduled distance, a 1 lap overtime finish, and the race ended under yellow as you saw. Congratulations once again to Gustine in getting the win here tonight. And thank you to each and every single one of you that tuned in, not only during this stream, but during the Truck Series live commentary stream as well. Still ended up with quite a few views to consider the fact that we didn't even start the stream until 11:15 local time for me. It is 1:45 in the morning. I'm ready to go to bed. I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. Great Friday doubleheader though, nonetheless. 2 more live streams to go this weekend. Xfinity Series scheduled for tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and the Daytona 500 live commentary stream will be scheduled Sunday at 1:30 Eastern Time. Now, hear me out. If the Xfinity Series race tomorrow, due to the threat of rain, gets postponed before the start time of our stream at 5 o'clock tomorrow, if it is postponed, pushed back a day, we will not stream tomorrow. Same goes for the Daytona 500 on Sunday. So Sunday, you wake up in the morning and NASCAR decides that we're not having the Daytona 500 on Sunday, then we will not be live streaming that until Monday as well. But I still plan on going live an hour before the Daytona 500, no matter what the start time is on Monday, Sunday, whatever it may be. We'll go live an hour before the drop of the green. And then again, Xfinity race will go live, whether that be tomorrow or Monday, whenever we end up having it. I do plan on doing live commentary, even if both races are pushed to Monday. So we'll be here. I'll keep you guys posted in the community tab, whatever I end up seeing on various social media platforms from NASCAR. Keep an eye out on your own as well. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload, and don't miss a community tab post for when I update the start time to the race if the start times for Xfinity and Cup this weekend change. Be sure to hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet. We did hit our goal, 53 likes. 50 was the goal for this ARCA race, which I'm glad we got there, but I'm actually surprised how many views and how many likes we ended up getting on this stream considering how late it was, and the fact that this race wasn't even supposed to take place until like 12 hours from now, so it got moved up obviously very early. Have a good, safe rest of your Saturday morning through Saturday. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow afternoon. If not, see you Sunday. If not, I'll see you Monday. Whenever we end up seeing each other next, have a good time between now and then. Rest easy, and I will see you guys back and better than ever next time. Subscribe. Road to 5,000 subs. Have a good night, everyone.